What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the episode tonight. I'm very excited for this one, and I've been mentioning it for a while. I know we're rolling up here on Halloween, so happy Halloween Eve or Devil's Nights, everybody, I suppose. It is Devil's Night, isn't it? Yeah, I guess it is. So thank you for coming and hanging out tonight. If you could, please hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell, that way you get notified every single time I go live. And then really quick too, right off the top of the bat, next Saturday at 9 p.m. I will have NK Kanata, so she will be here sharing her experiences as well as what she's doing for the community. So please come back next Saturday as I will be hanging out doing that. And now that it's been formally announced, if everybody would like to know, I'm very excited to announce that the 11th, or that second weekend of December, I'll be part of the After Hours table there, or the new show that's expanding for SOR or Spaced Out Raiders with Dave Scott. John Hudson and Gemma Jade will be the other co-hosts with me. I'm very excited about that. We'll be getting a lot more into the experiencer side of things, as far as bringing those that are in the chat on, as well as some other really cool things we have in the works. So, all right, enough about that. Let's also mention really quick, who we got in, first of all, who got first place today? Let's see. Yeah, it should be Sunny with the Paranormal Chop Shop. Had first place, followed by Chad Smith. Welcome, brother. Josh Casey's taking the bronze home there. We got Champ Campbell. We got Anonymous Rex. Welcome to the chat. Thank you for being here tonight. I think you're brand new, so thank you very much for coming and hanging out. We have Jim. We also have John Marks. Thank you for being here tonight. Let's see who else I got. Adam Ambrose. Hey, what's happening? Good to see you again tonight. Why? Good evening, brother. Good to see you. Excuse me, which brings me to my next thing. Really quick, guys. We'll get it out of the way, I promise. I think it's an important thing to talk about a little bit because it helps out the show here, helps out Ben and Joe, as you guys know, which is none of this would be happening without them, right? None of this at all. So if you guys wouldn't mind, if you get a chance, and I have it in the show links, go check it out. If you go check out Manscaped, cleared for takeoff. If you guys use the promo code UFO Garage, all caps, you will get 20% off of your order plus free shipping on whatever you decide to get. And as I always say, guys, it's important when getting down there, use a professional tool. So treat your family jewels like the jewels they truly are, and will help support the show. So we really appreciate them reaching out for us that way and possibly getting this all set up. Let's see what else. Let me get this out here. There we go. Benjamin Might Be. Welcome. John Max. Oh, that's welcome again. So our guest tonight, Mr. Calvin Parker, guys. Very excited about this one. Some of you may or may not know the story. Those that are familiar, well, this will be a treat for you because, as we all know, and we're very glad that he's recovered. But he had some a little bit of uphill battle a couple months ago, and things weren't that great. So we're really happy to have this opportunity for him to still be here with us and hang out and share his really his legacy, if we think about it. So in 1973, he had some pretty interesting experiences. Man, I guess what was it, October 11th, if I recall correctly. So almost, we're just over 48 years ago. And I know everybody's doing Halloween episodes right now. I know everybody's doing the scary ghost stories, and that's what everybody's doing right now. But for me, some of the scariest things you can ever encounter or deal with are these real life experiences. And Mr. Parker certainly had a real life experience, as we will be dealing with that tonight. Let's see really quick. Oh, one last thing I've been forgetting to do for a long time, and I'd like to ask everybody to start doing. Grandmaster, welcome to the chat. Thank you for being here tonight. Guys, please share this. If you can, share it to however, I don't care how you share it, just share it. It will really help us out. Share it to somebody you think might be interested, and that will help us out greatly. So enough of me rambling, guys. Let's bring in Mr. Parker here, or Calvin. What do you prefer going by the way? Do you prefer Calvin or Mr. Parker?
No, Calvin. I'm
Calvin.
not that formal yet.
There we
I might
go.
be old and broke down, but I'm not to the Mr. part yet.
I love it. So how are we doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing a little better, a little stiff and sore just from general life. These aches and pains and all, but I'm doing fine.
Very, very nice.
Had a good day. I got to go to the fair and eat some peanut brittle and meet the congressman in our neighborhood. So it was a nice day.
Peanut brittle, man, I'll tell you what, I do love some good peanut brittle. That's good stuff right there.
It's good.
Heck yeah. Yeah, so as we know, talking about this, and for anybody who might be listening in, say, a podcast format that's not here on the YouTube tonight or live with us, just know that everything I'm talking about here tonight there'll be show links for it in the notes. If you go down and you click on that, if you want to watch him in person here, you'll be able to do that as well. And really quick, guys, if you do have any questions, try to put them in caps as always. And depending on how long we are able to go tonight, for some people to come on and try to do 5-minute segments, just some quick questions, get you in and out as fast as possible, depending on how many people we have in here. Mr. Parker said he was open, or Calvin said he was open to doing that. So I think that'll be a good time depending on what happens tonight. Michael Huntington, welcome to the chat as well. So, where do we start with this one? First of all, I didn't realize how close we were to the date. I didn't realize that we were that close when we scheduled this a couple weeks back there.
Yeah, October 11th, 1973. It's been a long time ago. A lot of things has happened, a lot of water under the bridge since then.
Oh,
But I guess the best place to start is the beginning. So,
heck yeah.
what we'll do, I was working in the oil field in October and fixing to get married in November, and I wanted to find me a job that was had a little better hours because I was working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week in the oil field.
Hmm.
And I called up Charles Hickson, which is an old family friend of my father's, and asked him if he had an opening in the shipyard. He said, "Yeah, come on down." So that's the story of how I got to work in Pascagoula in the F.B. Walker and Son shipyard. So I went down the day before and rented a room, got up, and we went to work. Of course, you know your first days at work's all drug testing and all doctor visits. So I finally got into the work part, and it was a long day. For October, it was hot. And Charlie asked me, he said, "Son, do you want to go fishing when we get through?" I said, "Sounds good." I said, "Charlie, I didn't bring no fishing equipment with me." He said, "Don't worry, I got some you could use." Now, for a man from the South to offer you fishing equipment, that's great because that's just like him giving you his wife and kids, so that just don't happen usually.
Yeah.
So we went to his house and picked it up, and there's a place in Pascagoula called the grain elevator. It used to be there. We'd unload grain off these ships and all. And when it would fall off, the fish would eat it. So we went to the old grain elevator and we started fishing. And the bugs were so bad we couldn't stand it. He said, "I got another place I want to try." I said, "All right." He said, "Let's go to the Shaw Peter shipyard. It's out of business now. They just down the road. And maybe the bugs won't be so bad." I said, "Okay." So we drove and we got out at the old Shaw Peter shipyard. The first thing I noticed was trespassing sign, no trespassing. I said, "Charlie, they got no trespassing signs. Oh, maybe we don't need to fish here. They might put us in jail." "Don't worry about that. I fish here all the time." I said, "Okay." So we walked and struggled and got down and found the old pier. And as we got to the pier, there was an old log there because the shipyard was abandoned and out of business. I pulled a log up. We sat down, and I was looking across the river, and there was a Noah ship out there, and it was made out of steel. And I was thinking to myself, now how does something made out of steel float?
It's a great question.
And I was just sitting there thinking that, let my mind wander, not really paying much attention to life. And I noticed a bright blue hazy light coming across the water from behind me. And I told Charlie, I said, "Oh, you done it now. The law's here. They're going to run us off or they're going to put us in jail." And we both stood up at the same time and turned around. And that's when the blue hazy light went off and a bright beam just hit us. And it was so bright, we couldn't really see what was there at the moment. But I did notice, just kind of focused in, it was three, looked like Green Bay Packers. They were so big coming in toward us there. And I
Wow.
thought, well, hell, they mean business. They going to really put us in jail. Because at this time, I still thought it was a law.
Right.
Well, before I noticed that two of them had got a hold of Charlie and one of them got a hold of myself, And that's when I felt a stick in my arm. And that was what they called the shot that they gave us, with a I don't care shot anyway.
Hmm.
So they gave us a shot to kind of calm us down, and we testified to that later on and noticed that later on through the blood work and everything at the hospital. So this thing picked me up by my arm and uh, carried me. Now I lost sight of Charlie now, up to the front door of this craft, and it was astonishing because I remember looking in. The lights wasn't coming from the outside; they was coming from the walls inside the craft. Just illuminating out of the walls.
Yeah.
So we got to the door, and it just, I noticed that, and the lights just kind of dimmed a little bit, and this creature, and I'm calling it a creature because I still don't know what it was, took me in and turned left and went down a hallway and took a right turn. And there was this office there, or what I call an office or examination room. And it was a table in there, and it was sitting on an angle, a glass table. And he carried us over and laid us on that. Well, he didn't need to restrain us down or anything, or restrain me down,
Hmm.
because, I done had that go to hell shot and
Right.
was laying on this table. And I could roll my head and move my eyes, but I couldn't move my body. Well, this big ugly one, what I'm gonna call it, just kind of laid me there, and he backed up out of the way. And out of the ceiling, there was something about the size of a deck of cards, and it was blue on the bottom, and it came down just in front of my face, stopped about a foot from my head,
Hmm.
and it started rotating around my head. It'd go zoom, and you could hear it. It sounded just like one of these MRIs that they have in the hospital. It would click 4 times. Then it shot back up in the wall. So I was laying there when this thing shot back up in the wall, and I kind of felt the presence, still not really at myself, but kind of felt the presence of something else. So I rolled my head over and looked toward the other direction, and I noticed a doorway, and this looked like just a regular average old redneck girl come out of there. But she was coming toward me, and I think it was a woman. I'm pretty sure it was. I didn't notice any signature things like her breast or anything like that.
Yeah.
But the only thing I noticed on both her hands, her two middle fingers was longer. But she would have been, as I told somebody before, if I'd been in a bar drinking, I would have probably asked her out on a date. And so, anyhow, she just came over to the table where I was, and she wasn't that bad looking. And she put her left hand on my chin and pushed down on it, then took her right hand and took him two middle fingers and run down my throat. Now, why she was running her fingers down my throat, I don't know, but I could. It was scratchy and it was burning and it was hurting. And I started gagging, and when I started gagging, she just pulled her fingers out and backed up, and telepathically she says, "We're not gonna hurt you." And I thought, well, B, you've already done that. You've already run your fingers down my throat, scratched me up. I'm bleeding everywhere. I can't breathe.
Wow.
But she made a noise then, like a mating call on an alligator. It was gloom, gloom, just like that. And you could feel it vibrate through the ship. Now, this old big ugly one, I really think he was robotic and just taking orders from her. He was over in the corner, and when she made that noise, he popped up like a jack in the box and came straight over to where I was and grabbed me by the left arm. And I felt another injection
Yeah.
because I was already getting scared. I was upset, and I was fixing to try to get out of there.
Now, is this, if I was to share this image here, I'm going to overlay it a little because it's giving me issues tonight. I didn't share it properly like I was supposed to a second ago. Is this close to what you've seen? Is this someone's rendition of that, or is that not even close close?
Yeah, Larry Flynn at the shipyard made that drawing and gave it to Charlie back a long time ago, but it's pretty accurate. Uh,
So this is the creature that, or we'll say that I'm saying creature just as we simply don't know right now, but this is what
the
had
big
picked
ugly one looked
the
like.
big
Yeah,
three that came out. Okay.
right.
So no facial features on this too much as it was approaching you guys.
No, huh? Of course, we
Hmm.
was kind of blinded from the light of the ship, and we couldn't
Wow.
really distinguish a whole lot.
Yeah.
So this big ugly one came back over and picked me up and carried me out of the ship, and we got to the river, and he put me out facing the river with my arms stretched out toward the river. And that's the first time I heard or seen Charlie after that. And Charlie, I felt something tugging on my leg, and he said, son, you okay? I thought, well, heck no, I'm not okay. There ain't no way you're going to be okay through this. But I still couldn't run. Personally, I was wanting to get up and get out of there. He said, sit down, let's talk for a minute. But before that, we turned around and looked, and we seen the craft pick up off the ground, get above the power lines a little bit, and just shoot off into the sky and disappear. It made kind of a little zipping noise. So I sat down on the pier because the damage was done. I mean, if they'd been going to keep us or kill us, they would have done it at that time.
Right.
So we sat on the pier, and Charlie said, well, we need to tell somebody. I said, Charlie, no, we don't. We don't need to tell nobody. We need to get up and we need to go to work in the morning because I'm not telling nobody anything about this, about what's going on or anything, because people think we crazy.
Yeah, and this is 1973, so I mean, this is at a totally
Yeah,
different time and era. Everybody right now is talking about, everybody's coming out. It's kind of okay to talk about and share a little. I mean, there's still a lot of pushback, but man, 1973 was, it would have been crazy town to come out and start chatting about this, and you're
you
engaged. You
just
got a
didn't do
weapon.
it back then.
Exactly.
And what people don't realize, it wasn't no cell phones, it wasn't no computers,
Hmm.
wasn't no social media, nothing like that. You just if you used a phone, you went to a store and put a nickel in it and used the phone or went in your house. So we talked about this for just a few minutes there, and I told Charlie, I said, you know, let's just get up and go to work in the morning, not tell nobody. Okay, okay. Well, on the way out, we made our way back to the car. It took about 15 minutes from where we were to get back to the car. And I noticed a window on the passenger side, the windows was just shattered in place. They were still there, but they was kind of shattered in place. And when Charlie opened that door, I was driving, it was my car. When he opened the door, the window fell out. So something shattered at the noise or something did. We got in the car, and I like never did get it cranked. We finally got it cranked. We started in. Well, on the way back to the apartment, we didn't really say a whole lot to each other. It's just a few minutes to where we was going.
Hmm.
Charlie said, there's a store right here. Pull over. Well, like I say, back then, it wasn't no phones anywhere. It was a store with a payphone in it.
There you
And, of
go.
course, both of us broke, and it didn't take but two nickels to make a phone call. We didn't have no change with us. So we looked up under the seat and came up with enough change to make a phone call. And I thought Charlie was calling his wife.
Right.
He's going to tell her, we're running a little bit late. We'll be home in a few minutes.
And Charlie was bit early 40s there, maybe? Is that about right?
Yeah,
Give or take?
I think he was 44.
44. There we go.
There was a pretty good age difference. I was 18. He was 44.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, I mean that's pretty significant too to have that kind of experience at 18.
Yeah. So I'd seen Charlie drop that dime in the phone, and a few minutes he come back. He said, Well, they're not taking reports right now. They said call the local. I said, who's not taking reports, Charlie? He said Keesler Air Force Base. I called them. They said that they don't take reports like this anymore. To call the local law enforcement. I said, I thought you wasn't going to tell nobody. I thought we wasn't going to tell nobody. He said, well, I called the Jackson County Sheriff Department. So we struggled around and found another net dime. And he called. And of course, I was driving. And who they going to question when they pull up? The one driving. He called them. They said, y'all don't go anywhere because they really thought we was drinking and drunk or something.
Right.
And y'all sit right there until we see y'all.
It's the go-to
So
for them every
Charlie
single
told me
time,
what you
right?
said for us to stay right there till they got here. Yeah. Well, I was afraid to leave then, 18 years old. And I had that blue light syndrome already from just a little bit ago. And they pulled up. And of course, first thing they did, come to my side of the car, asked for ID. Of course, back then, you didn't have to carry insurance or anything. Looked in the
Right.
car and asked me to step out. So I stepped out of the car, and the first thing they did was, you been drinking tonight? No, not yet, but I'm going to as soon as I get home. They said, well, we need to give you a sobriety test. He said, if you would, stand on your left leg, pick your right leg up, lean your head back, close your eyes, touch your nose, and jump up and down on one foot. I said, man, I can't do that sober, much less if I've been drinking. I said, there's no reason for this. But I tried it. I went through all the little things he said, then walk a little line, and close your eyes and touch your nose and things like that. Just feeling like an idiot. And I was thinking all the time, I'm going to kill Charlie when I get back in that car. Because he was just
So,
sitting
okay, so he's just sitting there, and they got you
there.
up
Yeah,
there performing a show for him, huh?
yeah. And he's the one that called. And I thought, well, I'm going to kill him when I get back in this car because
Yeah.
he shouldn't have never called the law. Well, we went through all this. They said, well, follow me to the sheriff department over here. I said, okay, we've had it. So I got in, closed the door. Of course, if they thought I'd been drinking, I never would have drove to the sheriff department. I got
One
in and,
would assume.
yeah, closed the door, cranked the car. Of course, I was mad right then at Charlie. I didn't say nothing. And I just started following them. And we got to the sheriff department. We come in. The first thing they do was split us up. They
Hmm.
took him to a room in the back and took me to a different room. Well, I didn't know up until about 3 months ago they had recorded every word that we said, before the interrogation, in the interrogation, and after while we was together in the interrogation. And I got a copy of them tapes. But the recording's what really convinced them. So they took him to a room. They took me to a room. They asked us a few questions, put us in a room together, and listened to what we was having to say. So this recording is what really convinced them that we was being honest with them and with each other. And finally, the sheriff come out. He said, he come over. He drove in Fred Diamond, and he was known to be pretty strict. He came in and walked through the door, and he said, "Why don't y'all go to bed and get some rest?" And I'll see y'all tomorrow. I said, "Well, why do you need to see us tomorrow?" He said, "Well, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Y'all go to bed. Y'all scared. Y'all upset. Get some rest. It'll just be better for everybody." But another thing I didn't know, while we was sitting there, word hadn't got out yet. They was over 50 phone calls come into dispatch about seeing this UFO. So
Really?
that's one of the things that made this a real credible sighting. Now, this is before everybody knew we had been abducted. 50 phone calls to investigate this. And that's all documented. Philip Mano put it in a book and documented all that. So Fred said, the next day, I heard a radio station was interviewing. Now, how this got out to the news media, I have no idea.
Hmm.
But went home. Went in, took a shower, pulled all my clothes off because I had blood all over me.
Okay.
There was a gallon of bleach in the shower, and I poured that bleach over the top of my head and rinsed it off. And that was old bleach, so it was strong. And I got out of the shower and I put all my clothes
Whoa.
into a bag, even my shoes. And I carried them out to a dumpster. They was in a paper bag. They didn't have plastic bags back in. And went in there and went to bed. Well, we got up the next morning. Charlie was already up, and when I got up, and of course I didn't sleep that night. And we
Hmm.
went into work. And when we got there, I noticed. Of course, this was my second day. I noticed there was a lot of cars around there and all these big trucks with these uplinks sticking up in the air, these TV trucks.
Yeah.
Back then, they had these uplinks and they jack them up on a satellite somewhere. But I still didn't think nothing of it. I said, well, they're doing a commercial for the shipyard or something. We
Right.
brassed in, and before we got anything good, we heard our names called on the intercom. Calvin Parker, Charlie Hickson, y'all come to the office. I said, uh-oh. So we walked to the office, and we got there. He said, y'all going to have to give a press release. This is ridiculous. We cannot conduct business here. Our phones are ringing off the hook. They get no calls in or anything. And back then, that's how you did business, was on a phone or a
Right.
fax.
Yeah.
So I said, press release for what? Of course, I was playing stupid. I said, there's nothing to release to the press. What are we going to have to do? He said, I got an attorney, a shipyard attorney, Joe Flamingo, coming down. And y'all issue a press release to him. And we're going to run it. And then we get this stuff out of the way here. So I still didn't say nothing. And of course, Charlie, he was all for being in the public eye right then on a press release.
Really?
He talked to Joe Flamingo, and him and Joe set up a thing and did a little press release. And they put it on the air, and buddy, it was gone. It was thousands of reporters, thousands of people, every news media in the world. I'm not talking about just the United States. Every news media in the world picked up on this story back in. Well, that made my life kind of a living hell because, everybody wants to know what happened and all. Of course, whether they believed you or not, that don't really matter. They still wanted to hear
Right.
the story and wanted to know about it. So he did a press release and went in. To make a long story short, the sheriff showed up there like he said he would. And he said, y'all need to go to the emergency room at the Singing River Hospital. I'm going to carry y'all down there and have you checked. So he carried us to the emergency room. They did blood work. We seen Dr. Bosco. He did a thorough exam on us. And he said, I don't believe they carry no viruses or nothing right now. So he said, you need to take them and have them checked for radiation. And I thought, what the heck is going on?
Right.
So they called Keesler Air Force Base, and they was already on standby. And the sheriff drove us to Keesler. And when we pulled up, they just flagged us right on in the gates and had a MP take us to the back. And there was 5 or 6 guys, I didn't really get a head count, sitting there in yellow hazmat suits. And told us to get out of the car. And they took us to the side. They scanned us for radiation somehow. And I heard them say all clear. Well, I was kind of tickled to hear that. Uh, then they said, look, the brass wants to see y'all. Y'all walk down this hall. There's a conference room at the end of it. And they want to talk to y'all in there. Well, it was too late to turn around and go back anywhere. So I followed that officer down the hall, or that guy that carried us down there, me and Charlie and the sheriff. And we got in there, and there was a room full, and they had all kind of military people, police departments, every mayor, and everybody from the public works department to the police departments was in there from the 3 coastal counties. So they
This,
wanted to know what happened, and that's where I started stonewalling, kind of. I
yeah.
talked to Keesler a little bit, and I told them that main brass, but I wasn't about to sit out there and open myself up for the rest of it. So I told them just as little as I could, and I kind of put the monkey on Charlie's back
Hmm.
because he was older, and he was willing to talk and all for it. He loved his 5 minutes of fame, and I said, "Well, thinking to myself, this all be over with in a day or two. We go back to work." So on the way back in, the sheriff took us, loaded us back up in his car. We was driving back to the shipyard where my car was. He said, "Look, son," he said, "oh, there's somebody at the shipyard that wants to talk to you." I said, "Well, that's been every day somebody's wanting to talk to us since last night." And I said, we got in there. He said, "This is Dr. Heineck. He used to be over
Wow.
Project Blue Book." Now, how he got down there that fast, I don't know. But they had quit Project Blue Book. But
Yep.
Dr. John Allen Hynek was carrying on his own investigations on things. So he had brought a doctor, Dr. Harder from the University of California, down with him. And they took us in a room. And Dr. Hynek, he just gave me a safe feeling because, you could tell he was real warm about things and reaching out. And you could just tell he was a good person. Kind of give you the grandfather image. He would sit there with his hand on his chin like that and look at you and just not say a word, and then he'd ask you a question.
Hmm.
So Dr. Harder took Charlie to the room and examined him, hypnotized him, and while Dr. Heineck interviewed me. Then when we got out, we kind of swapped around. Dr. Harder took me to the back, give me an examination, hypnotize me, and Dr. Heineck then asked us, "Well, I'm going to the site where this happened. Y'all gonna be in here tomorrow?" And I said, "Yeah." But before we left, the guy that owned the shipyard come in. He said, "Look, this is just too much pressure around here. I got a job to do. We got things. We got a living to make. I don't need y'all around." So to make a long story short, I got hired, I got fired, I lost a job, abducted, and all in the same day. Now he
Hired,
didn't say
abducted,
y'all
and fired,
fired.
right?
He did say, "I'm gonna pay y'all a week to take off and not come back." I said, "Okay." And I don't think I ever got my week's pay. I don't know.
Oh man, he owes you a little bit now.
Yeah. So
That's a,
anyhow,
go ahead.
when I left there, I went home, packed my clothes, put in the car, and I went just as straight back to Laurel, Mississippi as what I could drive. And that's where I shut down. I didn't talk about this to nobody.
Right.
Not my wife, not my family, not anybody. Of course, I wasn't married at the time. I was due to get married November the 9th,
Very
and this
nice.
was October the 11th. And I didn't think I really would because, her daddy was pretty heavy handed. And I knew when news media hit this that would
Mm.
wind the marriage up. But it didn't. We got married, and I never talked about this to my family or to my friends until the book came out. Now, what brought the book out? Why I even opened up, started talking. This was 46 years later. We had a neighbor that passed away from an aneurysm that lived right
Mm.
down below us. So my wife and I went to the wake, and I've never signed. I've been down here all my life, and I never signed my name in public for nothing. And I just happened to sign the register at the funeral home that night. Well, people started recognizing the name, and it was a flock of people that come around. They was wanting pictures and all that. So, wait a minute. We had a man's wake over here. His wife and his daughter's in there grieving. Now, I don't need this attention. So
Right.
me and my wife got an old truck and we driving back home. She said, people seem to really love you and care about you and care what you have to say. Why don't you write a book? Of course, doing anything I could to get her off my case. I've never talked to her about it even up till then.
That's what I was just about to ask you. So when she suggested this about you writing the book, she didn't know, or do you think? I mean,
What
being
she
married.
knew something had happened, and she
Okay.
knew about because the news media had it plastered everywhere. But
Okay.
me and her had never talked about it. Now, you talking about upsetting a woman, you keep a secret from her 46 years and don't talk about something. She even asked
Hmm.
me one or two times, and I just shut down and wouldn't say nothing. So, I, to get her off my back about the book, I said, "Oh, one that I don't have an education. Uh, I don't, I can't spell my own name, much less a book. So I had to think about all this. That was just to get her off the case, and I was just going to blow it off and forget about it. But I happened to be fishing 2 or 3 days later, and I was at the boat landing, and my phone rang. Well, he said it was Martin Willis. I had done a podcast with him,
Okay.
one of the first ones I ever did back a long time ago. I mean, back when this first happened. And he said, "Look, there's a guy from the UK wanting your contact information. Could I give him your contact information? He's wearing me to death." I said, "Yeah, I guess so." Well, it was Philip Mantle, which is from the
Nice.
UK. He's a publisher of my book. He called up and he said, "Calvin," he wanted to ask me some questions about Charlie and his book. And of course, I didn't really want to talk to him. I didn't want to answer nothing. He said, "Look," he said, "I know you don't get out because of the news media and all. Why don't you write a book? That's your legacy. And that way it's documented. And they can't change your story because I know you've been having trouble with that." And it really got to making a lot of sense to me, what he said. And so I said, "Well, give me a week and call me back. Let me think about it." And I'll talk to my wife about it. Well, during the time he hung up, I just put on my phone on that number, no answer. I had no intentions of ever talking to the man again in my life. But
Hmm.
I happened to be back down at the boat landing again, and my phone rang, and I just grabbed it up to answer it because it kept ringing. And it was Philip Mantle. So we sat there and talked a few minutes, and I said, "Well, Philip, the only way I would do a book," I said, "I don't have any education." I said, "I can't spell nothing. If you don't correct nothing in it, if I write a book, I want it to be in my words and I want it to run just like it is."
Can
And
respect that.
I said, "You just we got a deal if you do that." And I don't want not even a misspelled word correct. He said, "I assure you it won't be if that's what you want." And the man stood by his word on all that. I said, "Well, send me 10 books, Philip." And what I was going to do, I was going to give one to each one of my family members and friends and my wife, my daughter. And I wasn't going to tell them the story. I was going to let them read about it. So he sent me 10 books when they came out. But the book was so popular, we was due to release this thing in a September. And somehow word got out 2 months before that, and he had to
Oh.
release the book early and just drop everything that he was doing. It was number one bestseller, and that really surprised me because, like I say, uneducated, don't know how to form words. Excuse me. But it was out there, and that got it started, and that led to another book because we had witnesses coming forward, and Irene Scott would interview the witnesses and write them down because Philip is one of the greatest guys I know. He's a good friend now. We became friends, and he does everything he says. But he's from the UK, and he don't have
Yeah.
as easy access as somebody from the States over here does. And the man don't speak good English, good redneck English anyway. So that's where they invented the English language. So he got Dr. Irene Scott to interview these people. And matter of fact, she's doing a book off the one she interviewed now. So this story keeps spinning off. It's in 6 or 7 different languages now. The book. We've been on the bestsellers list twice. And there's another book that we wrote that I really liked that came out. Uh, it's Pascagoula, the story continues. New witnesses, new people, or something like that. I don't even remember some of the titles. I've been through so much here lately. But anyhow, that's kind of what got us started right there. And it's been a battle ever since.
And if anybody wants, like I said, I have the links. If you're listening in podcast format, you just slide down that'll be in there, links for you as well as those that are watching on YouTube. I have links to both of those books, and I will also drop it here in the chat in just a second for anybody that might be curious. So I have so many questions, even going back to the beginning of this, but I would love to see if there's anything else you'd like to share first, and then I would like to kind of jump back to the experience itself, and I have a couple questions in regards to that, if you're okay with it.
No, that's fine. I can't think of anything now. This is my first podcast in several months. You know, they diagnosed me with kidney cancer. They took my kidney out and it had spread to my lungs, so I'm getting chemotherapy lung cancer. And I get sick pretty easy. I mean, this old age ain't really kind.
Hmm.
Uh, I got 48 years behind my back, and that much with my wife, and also. But anyhow, you know, I kind of get weak and sick every now and then. Other than that, everything's going good.
Yeah, what I was to say, I was extremely happy to see that everything worked out for you there. Excuse me, I know we had a lot of people with sending out their prayers or positive thoughts and vibes to you because I know you had a rough go of it there, and I'm
Oh yeah.
very honored that you were able to even come on and hang out with us here and share your story. Because
Oh, this is my first show since I've been diagnosed uh, with cancer now and lost my kidney. Of course, my other kidney's shutting down right now, and they
sorry to hear
talking
that.
about dialysis. I said, no, I ain't gonna live on no machine all my life. You know what it is what it is. When God gets ready, and I'm a firm believer in God,
Hmm.
when He gets ready, He's gonna get you. I don't care what machine you own.
Yeah,
You just kind of prolong things a little bit. But other than that, everything's going fine. I've started back doing a little fishing here lately,
there we go. That's
and
always peaceful, right? Just to get
it
out there.
is.
Speaking of that, now I want to jump back to the original encounter. But I also, before I even go there, I actually want to go back just a little bit further than that. I would love to ask, growing up, now that you've gone through some of this, have you looked back on any experiences when you were younger as a kid? Maybe any crazy dreams or just anything that you think could have been an encounter prior to this one when you were 18?
You know, that's strange that you asked that. My brother, we had a small house coming up. We was around the year that Kennedy died. So you can, and the reason I remark that is to give you a timeline
Yeah.
there. And we had to sleep together in the same room, in the same bed, because we lived in a small house. Well, my brother was in a bed on the other side over there, and he started screaming. He said, Pee Wee, they used to call me Pee Wee, there's a ghost blowing in your ear. And he got
Mm.
everybody in, and sure enough, you know, my parents had kind of seen something too. But I think it might have started right then. And then through the years, you know, I really can't say, but I had feelings, you know, fishing trips and just feelings and all.
Yeah.
that it could be something. But I never will forget that night. There's a ghost blowing in your ear, and my ear was wet. I don't know what had happened.
Yeah, that's man, and no one else in your family had ever had talked about any. I mean, I know things were a lot different back then, and I understand that, but no one else had expressed any experiences similar to anything like that, any ghost related things, or just other than that, pretty normal childhood.
No, pretty normal, for back then. You got up in the morning, you did your chores and work, you walked to school, and then when you got back, you did some more chores and your homework, and you went to bed.
That's right.
And I was raised on the Indian reservation, and we
Really?
didn't even have electricity until I was 12 years old. But I was
Wow.
brought up on that Seminole Indian reservation in Seminole, Texas.
Very nice. That's yeah, I don't think a lot of people, it's so funny when we lose power now here and there, and if it's out for more than oh man, 12 hours, it can get rough. As the boys, Joe and Ben down there in Texas, and anybody that was in Texas knows from the snowpocalypse that they had last year there. So to actually
Yeah,
grow up with that without the electricity, my grandpa kind of had the same experience, and it was funny to hear how he used to say they had to be careful because they lived up in the UP. I'm in Michigan, and they said the snow would come in, and if they weren't careful, it would freeze their pillows and stuff to the walls. So they had to
yeah.
put enough insulation there, and it's funny. We're only 2 generations away from that.
I remember us taking old newspapers and Sears and Roebuck's catalogs, sticking in the cracks of the house to keep the wind from blowing through.
Hmm.
But when Katrina came through, of course, we had 8 foot of water in the house and it went out. And we was without electricity for about 6 weeks. And I thought that was the worst thing that's ever happened. But then I got to thinking about, shoot, we didn't have electricity. We didn't have TVs. Didn't have a bathroom in the house. We had an outhouse.
Yeah,
And we made it. We made it fine. So,
that's right.
I didn't worry about it.
So I'd love to, and real quick, I want to, like I said, guys, I'm gonna start once we get through some of the questions I have. Any questions, I'll let you know when you open it up. Just make sure you put them in caps for me, and I'll get back to them as soon as possible. And then, like I said, for anybody, I know there's a lot of people in here that might not have been here when I first mentioned it. I will try to open it up near the last half hour, 40 minutes that we have with Kelvin for people to come in and ask some quick questions in person if possible. So just keep that in mind too. You might be able to do that as long as you've got headsets and a good internet connection there. But now jumping to this experience. I can definitely relate, not as much as you were doing, but I put in some long hours before. It sounds like, if I'm not mistaken, you were a pipe fitter, right, by trade there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Very nice. So that's what I've been doing for the past 6, 7 years here.
Yes,
Um,
sir. I really enjoyed it. I
oh,
hated
it's
to give it up.
yeah, it's hard work. I'm not gonna take that away from it. It's hard work, but I do enjoy seeing the fruit of your labor come to fruition. Is a really good thing. Good time, I should say. Um, But I can definitely relate to that idea of, like you said, you had a day to just relax and go fishing. And I mean, come on, the man offered you his own fishing poles. You couldn't turn him down. You
Yeah,
couldn't turn him down, right?
there was no way. That's a major insult.
That's true. But as you guys were sitting there, you mentioned your mindset, sitting, looking, watching, wondering how in the world these giant, ships made of steel managed to stay afloat like this. And then, excuse me, did the light, and I'll try to share a picture. Guys, again, I apologize for whatever reason. It's got to be user error, but I'll try to share it here. There's a shoreline picture kind of. And is this the actual location that is right here?
It is. The little
Okay.
pier that you see kind of to the back is where we were fishing.
Okay. The bridge
And
itself back there?
right.
Okay.
So, anyhow, we was kind of fishing there. Like I say, it was the old abandoned shipyard. It's changed so much since then.
Yeah, I can imagine. Very much so. So as you're seeing this though, and you're the light, did it start from out there? Did you think it was a kind of a boat at first, or when the light came in, I guess to kind of get a picture in my mind, you're looking at the water. Did it come from the water itself, or did
No,
it
it come
just
from behind us.
okay? So
It
it did come.
reflected out across the water.
Okay, which is why when you turned around, the light was just blinding at you like that.
Right.
Now, when they came to you, do you feel like there was a moment when they first appeared that you were still able to freely move?
No, I don't. Because I was so scared when this was going on. I kind of noticed to my left there was water, to my right was water, and in front of us there was water. So there's nowhere we can go, then they was behind us.
Hmm.
So, it wasn't too many places to run to.
And like you said, it was pretty quickly that they were upon you, right? There was three
Way
of them came
fast.
out.
Yeah, before you even knew what happened, they was there.
And I've heard different accounts, either from other people sharing your story or even yourself. You've said that it almost was as if they floated, though, right? They didn't physically walk on the ground.
They did float across the top of that marsh grass. That's why they could get to us so fast. It's if you looked out, they looked like they was about 2, 3 foot off the ground or above that grass a little bit, and they
Hmm.
just scooted right on, kind of like putting on a jetpack and moving over there.
And so immediately from this happening, and the one comes up to you, and did you feel this injection or whatever they might have put into your shoulder?
I did, and like I say, it was examined later on at the hospital, and the blood work and all was done,
Hmm.
and I still had the mark there, pretty good little mark, and it kind of ripped my arm when they gave me this injection.
So this wasn't a real nice little poke. This was kind of just an
No,
aggressive.
it wasn't kind of like getting a real easy little shot.
Very nice. And so as now, I'm assuming they also gave it to Chuck that was there with you as well, correct? Or Charlie, I'm
Sir,
sorry. What's that?
oh yeah, Charlie got the same thing.
Yeah.
Our experience, as far as I never really talked to Charlie about this. We never sat down and talked to each other about it. Charlie went on and wrote his own book before and made all these
Interesting.
conferences and news media and all.
Hmm.
And we never really talked. He called me up. This was in '80s. I mean '78, and said, "I'm gonna write a book." He said, "I'm gonna give you 3% of it, and I'm gonna sell it." I said, "Charlie, I don't want none of your damn book. I want nothing to do with it." So
Yeah.
anyhow, Charlie went and he did his own book and put it out there, and that I never read his book up until here lately, and I got bored laying around the house with this COVID and this cancer and stuff.
Yeah.
And Philip Mano had sent me one of his books, and I said, I might want to read this now.
Right.
And I picked it up and read it, and that's the first time I had heard anything on his story.
Now, and I guess I do have questions in relation to that, but going back just really quick to the experiences when you get taken onto the craft, and you mentioned it looked kind of like a deck of cards that came down and started scanning you. Did you ever have any thoughts on? You think that was just a general scan? Do you think there was something they were specifically looking for, like a part of the body that it focused on or anything?
I don't know. Uh, I think they was studying us. I believe it was more like a physical. Because who's to say in that poke after the shot that they didn't get blood too? I don't know. Who's to say?
That is true.
Who's to say they didn't collect a DNA sample?
And now, speaking of that, though, now you said she looked pretty much exactly like everybody else there, or that was living in the
Yeah,
area. This she wouldn't have noticed outside of, you said it was her, I believe, her middle fingers, right?
right. Outside of her fingers, being two middle fingers being longer than the others. Like I said, if I'd been in a bar and had a drink or two, I would have asked her out on a date. That's how normal looking she looked.
Very nice. That's
We we did have an artist to do a sketch of her. They're doing
okay.
it right now.
Very nice.
Uh, it's the closest sketch I've ever seen to what she looked like. And
Oh, I was just gonna say one of our listeners, Sunsaver from NHH. Welcome, brother. By the way, thank you for being here in the chat tonight. And he is correct in asking it, but he wants to know. He said, "Did you hear them in your head, or did they communicate at all? Any of the beings? Did they ever communicate with you?"
yeah, she did. She communicated I'm gonna call it telepathically. And I
Okay.
noticed Charlie said the same thing in his book when I just read it. But she communicated, "We don't mean you no harm." And I communicated back, "Well, bitch, you done the harm."
Oh, sorry. That's.
Yeah.
Oh no. I. First of all, I love the honesty on that. Sometimes, sometimes some people come in and they keep it all together, and that's fine, whatever might have happened. But every once in a while, I hear their stories, and I'm like, they're so calm. There's no way I would have handled this like that. So for you to, I love that. I'm sorry. Oh man. Yeah, but you mentioned there was a little bit of blood, enough so that you needed to change your clothes. So I mean, you mentioned something. You think should I get to your nasal passage or something? Perhaps you're not even sure what was
Yeah,
going on there.
I feel like she was trying to get a something in my nasal passage now, and I feel like she might have, and uh, but I've never had it checked. Uh, but it was blood all over. Matter of fact, it looked like the sheriff even told me to go home and get them clothes off. Looked like I'd been beat to death.
Which is what you did again, going home and you mentioned now. Speaking of that, let's hit on that for a second. Well, first of all, you guys come back off the craft, if we can call it that. Did you watch it take off, or what was the process there? How did the exit process take place?
Well, we seen it take off. I heard something like a zip,
Okay.
and it picked up off the ground, just shot up in the sky and disappeared.
No inertia, no displacement of the ground, or nothing crazy like that.
Yeah.
No kind of booms.
And the strange thing about that, Strange thing about that, it was witness taken off by other people. Excuse me. Uh, this lady and her husband seen it take off. They was across the river. This crane operator that was working on another shipyard, he seen it take off, and this Maria Blair, she actually seen us being abducted. And I mean, this is all
Wow.
credible people. And that night that this happened, when I was in the sheriff department, before anybody knew about it, before the media got it, they had 50 phone calls about seeing something strange out there. So, you know, it's the best documented case. The United States Coast Guard even documented. They don't call them UFOs; they call them something else when they go underwater.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But they even documented seeing one just down the river from there.
So, you know what's so interesting about this? When you first come across the case and you first hear it mentioned, it's kind of set up. Now it's getting better, but it seems like initially it was kind of portrayed before. Because correct me if I'm wrong. You first came out to publicly speak about this. What year was that roughly? That was about, not even 10 years, maybe
Oh,
more than that.
2018,
No, it was.
2019.
Thank you. I do stand corrected. That is right because I remember one of the first times I ever heard about it. And by the way, Sunsaver said that is USOs, and that's right. Under or isn't it like under like submerged something? I
Yeah.
can't remember the acronym, but I think it is USOs. But Joe and Ben were the first time I heard a story ever mentioned was on the show, and they were saying how it's funny that everybody that was telling the story at first was kind of portraying as like, well, here we got these two Southern boys, right? They're probably drinking and they're off, fishing, and then they happen to have this experience. But from talking with you, this isn't something where just the two of you said this took place. We're now talking about. I mean, one can even say, I know a lot of people hold to Travis Walton as like the one of the epitome of top five cases, if not number one or top three, of documentation on it. But if you've had 50, including the Coast Guard itself, I mean, that gets to be yeah, unidentified
The
submerged.
Coast Guard has it documented that they, had witnessed all this. Now, and we've also had polygraph tests, voice tests, been interrogated. I mean, we've had any kind of test known to man and passed them.
Very nice.
Plus the test of time.
That's true. That is probably the most important one right there.
Right.
Why brings up a great question. Continuing back to you guys entering or exiting the craft here, I should say, which is he wanted to know: did you notice at all any odors or smells while you were on the craft itself, or when you were aboard the craft?
I did not.
Okay. Very now, and I love that you brought this up because I didn't even get into that. Was it very just kind of, what was the description? What did you, I guess I'll just ask you, what did you see on the inside, if anything?
Uh, just the light coming out of the walls, pretty much had my attention. And then, the examination room. And that's about it. I can't remember much more than that.
Very nice. Okay. And so you guys exit now. And he mentioned, obviously you'd already hit on this, which is that he mentioned we got to tell somebody, and you're like, listen, I'm not ready to do this. I'm getting married here soon. I don't need this to be a thing. But as you guys went back, excuse me, after they do the sobriety testing and you're there at the police station giving your report, how much did you and him talk once they took their initial report? Did you guys kind of have any dialogue with each other to confirm, hey, did we see? What happened?
No,
Did you
we
see what I
really
see?
didn't. We didn't have time to talk.
Okay.
Everything was in a frenzy right then. And the only people we talked to then was people of authority. And actually, after this happened, I never really talked to Charlie that much, more than what we did on the pier right then when it happened.
That reminds me a lot of Terry Lovelace. Had the same thing with his buddy that he had an experience with. Is that they seem to just? I mean, this is a guy he worked side by side with for years, and they just drifted apart. After that
Yeah,
experience, he said it was almost like almost as if there was a blocker where he didn't want to be by him anymore. Did you feel
right.
anything like that?
Well, yeah, I didn't want to be around what we had to say anymore. And up until then, Charlie and I would communicate and all. And like I say, he was an old family friend. Me and his children was good friends coming up. But after that, we really didn't talk that much.
And when you went home, if you don't mind my asking, what happened too? And we're going to take a break here in just a minute here, guys, by the way. We'll have a quick little break, and then we might even have maybe Joe and Ben. One of them might be hopping on here. We'll see what happens. But really quick, before we take that break, you went home and you mentioned how you showered. Was the reason you picked a bleach? Because, that's a pretty powerful cleaner right there.
Well, I just watched this Apollo mission come back, and they quarantined them from their families to keep them from getting the disease or for spreading something for 2 weeks. They couldn't even see their own families. And
Yeah.
this bleach was sitting in there on the back of the toilet or by it, and I just happened to see it. And when I was coming up, I knew my mother would bathe me in bleach, and it would cure about anything from poison ivy on down. And I thought, well, just in case, I'm going to pour this on me and wash it off.
I got
That's
you. That must have
that's where the
burned, though.
bleach came from.
Very nice. I just wondered if there was something, because I just thought, man, that's such an extreme kind of cleaner right there. Black Chick, thank you very much, by the way, for that super chat and supporting the show here. So, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to take about a 5-minute break here. Go use the bathroom, we'll get another cup of coffee, a cup of tea, whatever you're going to do. Calvin, I'm going to take you backstage for just a second. I'm going to put some music on and then give it about maybe 5 minutes or so, about 5:10, or excuse me, 10:10 here, and we'll come on back, okay?
That'll work.
All right, I'll take you back just a second here. All right, guys, I'm going to put up some music and get you guys set up. Man, let's see. There was a question I seen coming up here a second ago, and I'll try to have it. I'll stay with it. That way we don't lose it when we come back with Adam Ambrose. Okay, so Adam, when we come back, I'm going to keep this tag down here, and I will catch up from any other comments you guys have going along. Try to start putting them if we're going to get into questions here, which I'd love to start doing. Try to put them in caps. If I miss them, please put them back in, because there's a chance that could happen. That's about it. So let me get some music going for you guys, and we'll be back here in about 5 minutes or so. 5 minutes. I like I have a song that goes 5 minutes. We got to make something up, Joe or Ben. We're going to work on that. We'll get something all squared away that way. Let's put this one up. Here we go. Alrighty, guys. I'm going to hop back on here for a second. We'll let Calvin get all situated over there. I want to thank, by the way, Spooky Morales for that awesome super chat. Thank you so much, brother, for doing that. And we're very excited to have Calvin here tonight. He's welcome back, by the way, Calvin. Thank you so much. There's so much love in the chat for you. Everybody's extremely happy to see you, wishing you well, and mostly excited just to hear it straight from you, right? I mean, the book is great, but getting to hear it from the horse's mouth, as it were, there's nothing like that, you know?
I enjoy it. The first event we had, they had a little invited me up to a little book signing here in Pascagoula the other day.
Hmm.
It was on the 15th instead of the 11th, though.
Okay.
And it was so nice to be able to get out and walk around and visit with people and to get up on stage and tell my little story. But I enjoy speaking.
Well, we enjoy listening. You have a fantastic voice for it. Everyone said they feel safe and at home, just like their papa or their grandpa's telling them a story. So I think
Yeah.
you're doing a great job.
When I did the book, I just heard some of this last week that it sounds like you're sitting in the living room telling the story and talking to us. And
Hmm.
that's the way I wanted it. I didn't want it like a book, you know, like a science fiction book where you go in and everything has to be spelled right and all.
Hmm.
That's not me. I'm uh I'm just a redneck from Mississippi. My language might not be proper, or I might not say the right thing sometimes, but it don't matter. That's me, and that's the way I wanted things.
Well, we love it. Let's see, really quick. I want to bring up the first question here. Moving along with this a little bit, but without skipping it, since it kind of matters. Adam Ambrose wants to ask you, Calvin, are you glad that you had this experience, or do you wish that it hadn't happened?
I had a lot rather it hadn't happened because my ambition in life was to get married, have children, have grandchildren, buy a house, retire, and fish. And all
Hmm.
that just kind of turned upside down on me.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. I mean, like you said, this really rolled into every other aspect of your life, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Not to mention holding it, from your wife. Like you said, they know, right? I've been with my wife for
Oh,
almost 10 years.
yeah.
She knows me. So, they know when something's up.
Every one of them. And, after when the book came out, of course, they had questions like anybody else. When I gave them a book, they would come to me, my daughter, my son in law, my wife, and all, and my family. You know, my family, my brother, my mother, and my father, they never, uh, they never asked me nothing about it when this happened. They,
Really?
there's a screenplay being done for a movie and a documentary and show and stuff, and it's pretty much got it in there. They never asked me about it. So
And, speaking on that, I would love to ask this question. I want to word it the right way. Um, Throughout this experience, what's so intriguing about yours is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you remembered everything that had happened the minute you were off this craft. It wasn't a sense of things coming back to you. You knew in that moment what had happened, correct?
no doubt about it. I mean that you go through this kind of experience, you don't forget it.
Right.
And I remember details that a lot of people don't. Although I have been hypnotized 2 or 3 times, Kathleen Martin, Dr. Harder, Dr. Heine, and all them. But still, I remember everything going on. I guess they was just trying to pull out little fine details,
Right.
which is not any fine details. What it is what it is.
Do you mind me asking about how long, let's say, start to finish, from the time this light appears to the time that they are dropping you off and taking off, like rough timeline? Do you remember, or is it a little blurry?
No, it was approximately 45 minutes
Oh
that we
wow.
spent inside the craft.
Wow. And that's fascinating because you have the people that are seeing this going on. So when they were calling, man, I might ask you, and I apologize for kind of going back to it a little bit again. When you were taking on the craft, was there an actual ramp you walked into, or what was the process of entering this craft?
No, like I said, they carry it as a board. So if there was a ramp, they're the ones that had to walk up it. And I've often wondered, of course, I was small back then. I weighed 130 pounds. And but I was wondering why it didn't break our arm or something the way they had us picked up. So that's questions I can't answer. I still got a lot of questions myself.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. Uh, we have another one right here from Sunsaver that wants to ask you, says, what are Calvin's thoughts about possible motives or agendas of the visitors? Any idea why they are here? Why the interest in humans on this planet particularly?
I have no idea. It's kind of like the deal. Well, why do we want to go back and explore things that happened before we was even here, like the Maya and stuff like that? Or
Hmm.
why do we want to go to the moon or other planets and things? You know, curiosity, I guess.
Very true. Very true. Now, when this took place, can I ask you this too? Because obviously you had this experience, but it sounds like, and I could be wrong, but it sounds like once you went home, you got married, you kind of got on with life. Uh, it doesn't sound like you ever tried to, you didn't reach out for any other interviews, you didn't do anything. Obviously, you didn't even share it with your own wife.
No.
But did you ever keep up with it, like in the back a little bit? Did you ever get a magazine here and there just to see, hey, has anybody else seen anything about?
Well, when this happened, of course, it come out in magazines. There was a Popular Science and things like that. And about happened to be in a barber shop or something where they had one laying around. Of course, I'd pick it up, and look at it just out of curiosity to see what they said.
Right.
But other than that, no.
Very interesting. By the way, Smokin' Joe says he wants to again thank you for coming forward after all these years. We appreciate you, and I definitely agree with that sentiment there because for so many other people too. Do you think in your just how you dealt with it? Do you believe there's others that probably have had these experiences that have just kept it to themselves after all these years?
I really do. This is something I don't think I was just isolated on. I believe there's a lot of people that had experience, and it might even be some that don't remember them. And
Mm.
like I say, I believe all that's kind of experimental,
Yeah.
uh, a DNA thing or something, maybe.
Well, and
Who knows?
that
I
was a
have a lot
question.
of questions myself.
Well, that's okay, right? I mean, that's why we all got those questions, I suppose. And I don't think any of us, any one person has an answer. That's the beauty of kind of, if there's any good plus things that, plus side to the internet is that it's helped the collective consciousness be able to connect with other people literally and share and have these commonalities and these experiences. And sometimes that awakens stuff in other individuals. So you doing this has been, it was a massive thing. And once again, I have seen a couple of people ask in the chat, you guys, for Calvin's books, I have them both linked in the chat, excuse me, in the show notes, and they will be if you're listening in podcast format as well. And near the end here, I will also link them right in the chat so that we can click on those and check them out. Now, Calvin, with those, I seen that some of them are in audio format or audiobook. Did they have you read the stories or did someone else read them for you?
Somebody else read them.
Heck
They
yeah.
did
Okay.
a real good job. I got a copy of. They send me a copy of everything they put out. And matter of fact, I've been listening to the audio book on it. Some when I get in the car or something like that. I
Yeah.
turned it on. But they did a good job on them.
Very
I have
nice.
to say, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with my publisher most of all. Philip Mantle has really worked hard on these books. He's really been behind me, and he's really helped me through all this. Uh, so, I just want to throw a big thanks out to him. It's not too many publishers that would do that. It's all about money to a lot of.
Mm,
But
yeah.
let me tell everybody, it's not money in this. I mean, you take your time, you donate your time, and I've
Hmm.
donated more time, many hours, sitting behind this computer like this. I've donated my time to the city signing book signings, and they would order the books, and of course I would profit a little from the books. But then I'd go sit there and I'd sign the books, and they'd sell them for a little more. I remember the first book signing I ever went to was in Pascagoula, in Main Street, Pascagoula put it on. They had to get the police department to shut down more roads because people was wrapped all the way around, and to shut the traffic down. It lasted for hours. It was thousands of people there. And
Wow.
it really surprised me. I was impressed. I said,
Yeah.
the local people coming out and supporting this and all. And, every now and then you're going to get somebody to be a smart aleck a little bit, and I just don't pay them no attention. Everybody has their own opinions, and that's great. I
Mhm.
could care less if somebody believed it or didn't believe it. I'm going to tell the truth the way that I know it and put it out there. And then people can believe this or not. They don't have to. It don't matter.
Well, we really appreciate you coming out and sharing the truth. And I think everyone, and this is just me, I think everybody recognizes that innate honesty in anybody else. It always connects a little bit. And I don't, I'm not saying that, and maybe some people share their story. You have a lot. You've shared, like you said, so many hours behind the screen sharing the story or on the
Oh,
stage,
gosh.
right? But you can
Oh,
still
just
hear
go
the,
Google my name and put UFO behind it, and you'll see a lot of the stories. And
and
that's
at
not
least
counting the officials, the public officials I've shared it with.
that's true. And like I said, I mean, for myself, I can still definitely hear the legitimacy in it and hear the experience. I always appreciate so much when an experiencer shares their experience because not that it's every time, but I know for some people, it's like living that all over again. And that's not always a fun thing, you know?
No, actually, this has been a blessing to me. Up until the book came out, me and my wife had never been on a vacation together. Well, I
Okay.
started getting invitations to go to these conferences. And I thought, well, I hadn't had much time with her. I'm going to quit work. And
That's awesome.
I'll buy her plane ticket. And they furnish a motel room and something to eat when you get there. And we started hitting these conferences, and we've had a blast going out. We'll take that time and we'll go somewhere and visit, and got to meet a lot of people. And she's actually handled the press and everything going on better than I have. And so, it's opened us up in our marriage. It's helped my marriage to come out with all this.
Is it okay if I ask about that? I mean, far as when she finally I guess did you tell her before the book came? I guess when did that finally happen? When did you finally open up and say, "Hey, honey, here's what really took place back in '73."
Well, let me tell you what I did. When I got ready to do this book, I said, I'm going to my room. I'll come out. I'm fixing to write that book you wanted so bad.
Hmm.
I said, about once a day, bring me something to eat and something to drink. And I said, you won't see me until it's over. And that's just the way that it was. I didn't talk to her about it. I come back here and I got busy. And she wouldn't let nobody disturb me. And every now and then she'd bring me a little something to eat and to drink in here. And when the book came out, just like I said, when I ordered 10 books, and when it came, I handed her a book and the rest of my family a book. And I said, y'all read it. Because I didn't want to, I wanted to see the reaction on her face when she read it in the book and all. And I didn't want to
Hmm.
be set, um, I wanted her to know, and I wanted to be the one to tell her. And since then, we talked a lot about it. But I just wanted to see her reaction when she read the book and all, because that was her ideal, something she wanted me to do, because I could care less if it one come out or not. But looking back on it, that's been the best thing that happened about this whole deal was that book.
Yeah. Yeah. When I guess when that finally came out, um, was it a little bit of a weight off your shoulders? Did you feel like maybe you had been carrying this thing that maybe didn't feel like much of a weight, but once it was finally out there, at least with her, if nothing else, that this weight kind of lifted a little bit?
I did. And, it opened up my family. And there's a lot of people in my neighborhood. I wouldn't even let her call my name out in public when we lived here. And there's a lot of people, a lot of my neighbors and all that wanted to know about this when the book came out and they found out. Because, the news media would come by and they'd have me on local news every now and then, just take pictures of me doing something and post it on the news. And really no interviews. So, it was a big weight off my shoulders to be able to tell the story and get it out there.
Now, I do have one other question because I've heard of this in passing, and I do think it's kind of interesting and relative to the situation, which is you actually had another experience in the '90s, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. In 83.
Oh, okay. So about a decade later, then, right?
Right.
And what happened on that? That you again, I believe, were fishing, right?
I was fishing,
I'm
and
telling you what. You guys want to go meet an alien or see a craft? You better get out there in the woods, go relax in a tree stand, or go fishing, and they're gonna come find you. It sounds like.
this is a long story here.
Oh well, let's
Uh,
do it.
but anyhow, I went fishing. I told my wife back then, after this happened to me in '73, I didn't fish at night. So I told my wife, I said, I'm going to run out to the islands, do a little bit of fishing, and I'll be back before dark.
Hmm.
Well, she fixed me a little lunch, and I remember sitting there eating my lunch and waiting on the tide to change so the fish would be running, and looking up in the sky, and it was a big cloud in the sky. And apparently there was a craft there. And more or less, what to say, they kind of beamed me up. And I think they was after this implant they put in my nasal cavity.
Uh,
And I think that's
okay.
the reason for this. They wanted to take it out. So I got pulled up, and this time I wasn't going without a fight. I actually beat her damn head against the wall. Me and her both was bleeding.
Oh
And
wow.
we got in a physical confrontation that day. And I'm not going to get all into that right now, but
Yeah. No. No.
if
I
you have me
understand.
back, I will. But anyhow, it got real physical. And to make a long story short, I got put back on my boat. And it was 3 o'clock the next morning, and me not fishing at night before I got back to my truck. And she had the Coast Guard and all waiting on me because she thought I'd done drowned or something
So
out there.
we're talking almost 16 hours, give or take,
16
right?
hours, right.
Wow. Now, if you don't mind, we're really quick too, because you mentioned not too much more time. But just when do you got to get out of here? That way, I can, if anybody has some questions, I had two of them sent to me. I want to make sure I get them to you before anybody. What time would you like to get out of here for us tonight? We appreciate all the time you've given us, but
Uh, well, I'm getting pretty tired after the chemo
yeah,
treatment, so,
yeah, no worries at
but I'm
all.
willing to answer some more questions right now.
Perfect. Well, let me do this really quick, because we'll get you talking about this, and I'll bring in. I know one gentleman had a question specifically. Number one, why he did kind of cover this a little bit, but I will bring it up. He said, "How much of the 45 minutes do you recall? Thank you, sir. As far as the original abduction, so do you recalled all of
Recall it
that?
all. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
One
recall
other
every
one,
bit of it.
really quick from Adam Ambrose, which is Calvin. Was this experience frightening for you? Was it good or pleasant experience at all?" And I believe they were referring to the first experience that we had talked about tonight, not this one that you just mentioned.
It was, you know, you're an 18-year-old kid, and that's all you are as a kid. And you go
Hmm.
through something like that. And yeah, it's scary. And I actually had a nervous breakdown. They had to put me in the hospital after that for a nervous breakdown.
Really?
Right after this happened in '73.
Very interesting. And then my own personal question, just really quick, would be to be clear with the second abduction that was taking place, you essentially got beamed up, but are you saying it was the same being, the same female from the first encounter?
Exactly.
Wow.
Now, somebody said, well, they might have had a disguise on. They might not look like, but no, as far as I remember, it was the same one.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Um,
best I could tell.
Excuse me. Well, let me do this really quick, guys. I just want to see if I missed any other one that was really quick, because we don't want to keep Kelvin here too long tonight. We really appreciate the time you do have. I have one person who's hopping on. Excuse me. Uh, to ask the question, I told him I'd give him a chance to ask you in person, so I'm gonna hold on for them for just a minute, and
Okay.
then see if I have anything else on here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get your second book for sure then. And did you speak about that second experience in either of the books? Did you write about
I
that or no?
did in the first and second one a little bit.
in the first
And
90
I'll be
seconds.
more than glad to come back on the show if y'all want me to come back and do it.
Oh,
It's
yes.
just I can't sit too long right now because of it just
Oh,
hurts
I
so
understand.
bad,
I understand. No worries at all.
and
I
I
know
just had
Joe and Ben would love to have you on.
I'd love to
So
come.
if you come back, I'll make sure I get you set up with them because it's really their show. The UFO Garage podcast would not exist. There wouldn't be me doing any of this if it wasn't for them. And what they've really focused on is the experiencers and the experiencers maybe that maybe not everybody knows and they're just coming on and sharing their story because no matter who you are, if you've had an experience, that's the important thing. Let's see. Okay,
Yeah, I
so
personally got to meet Travis Walton and Terry Lovelace and all them when that and people say, "Well, do you believe them?" Well, who am I to doubt anything that they done? I know Travis has had a lot of controversy coming up
yeah.
on Facebook and all, but I don't pay that stuff no attention.
Well,
He knows, I don't know.
exactly. And really quick to hit on that, then have I heard that you had mentioned there's like a mini series or maybe like something in the impossible works that way for you to kind of cover this experience that took
Yeah,
place.
it was going to be a movie and it was supposed to already be done, but the COVID took care of all that. They won't do
Mm,
all that. So now reaching out to Netflix or
I
Steve
got you.
Archibald, the guy that screenwriter and playwright and the seller of this. And it's going to be a little mini 6-part mini series. We got a documentary that was supposed to already come out. We got one out, but they got a real thorough one coming out, and the people from London's coming down this spring when the COVID kind of settles down and all.
Perfect. All right. Well, we got Joshua Casey here. I'm gonna let him ask his question in person, and then we're gonna let you get out of here for tonight, Calvin. Okay?
Okay.
Josh, what's happening, brother? Thank you for hopping on there.
How's it going, man? Thank you for having me.
Hey, Josh, good to see you.
I gotta say, you're one of the early, excuse me, the earliest cases I remember. Back whenever I was a skeptic before I believed in any of this. My question, real quick. I know you got to get off. Like I said, I was a skeptic last year. This year, I've begun seeing orbs and some other bizarre experience. I really want to know, what did that make you feel about? I don't want to get too deep, but like your spiritual, like your place in the universe. Just, I mean, how did it make you question everything? Did it make you rethink reality? Like, well, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I come up a devout Christian, and I've never questioned my faith in God or Jesus and all or anything. That's always strong and it stood still. And you would think I've got a pretty good chance this gonna take me out of my old life, this old cancer and stuff. And you would think that I would be crawfishing back if there was anything uh, that I needed to counteract on or go back on. But I'm not. I stand behind what's happened. I stand behind God and I stand behind my family. Now, I hadn't done right through the years. There's times that I was too hard on my family and too hard on myself. But, you know, the, my faith has never wavered.
Yeah, I want to say, personally, it made me feel really humble. I was a little bit atheist. I'm just a little more spiritual, but one other quick thing: did you ever feel like you were going on like a bit of a overload of information whenever you first had this realization that all this was real?
I don't know quite how to answer that. Up until this happened to me, I never even heard of UFOs. I'm just no country boy that got out and worked in the field and made it to school not too far. I didn't have a big education and all. So, it's hard to answer. This is all kind of reality to me.
Yeah, I completely agree. It wasn't in my definition of reality either. Yeah, so it's just kind of a shock to the system. But it makes me feel humble.
Right.
It does. It's something bigger than you, you know. I
Oh,
really
yeah.
do thank you for your time.
You're welcome. And I enjoyed it.
All right, Josh, I'm going to take you backstage because I'm going to probably stay on afterwards. So if you want to hang out for a minute, I'm just going to take you back there for just a minute while I get him out of here, okay?
All right.
All right, thanks, brother. And if you got to go, you can also go. You don't have to stay. I'm just offering if you want. So I'll move you
Okay.
backstage. You feel free to do what you'd like. Okay.
Uh,
All right. Peace. Really quick. Someone was asking. Tammy Finnegan says, "Does Kelvin have a website?" So do you have a website, Kelvin? I should have.
I do. My web, it's hard to tell you how to get there, but Andrew Hoffman built this website, and it's a good site. And it's under Calvin Parker UFO or something like that. It's posted somewhere in some of this public
Okay.
stuff, and it's on my Facebook page somewhere.
Okay.
So, I do have a website somewhere, and I'll repost the website on my Facebook page when I get off.
Perfect. Yeah, and if you get that to me, I'll add that to the show notes as well. The last question I'm going to give here, guys, just because we're going to get him out of here for tonight, was from Bob Jones. He says, can you please ask Calvin, why do you think it took so long to be returned from the second encounter versus that first one that you had?
I don't know. I can't really answer that.
Hmm.
Like you say, it was a decade.
Yeah.
I really do feel like they put something to track me in there, and maybe it was getting time to change it out, or they needed to get it out, or I really don't know.
Is it okay to ask too? Did you have still physical damage to your body being returned that second time?
Uh, yeah, where they had beat the hell out of me.
Interesting.
Other than that, it was okay.
Well, we're gonna leave it on that cliffhanger because I want to get to that story. But we'll leave that to Ben and Joe. We appreciate you so much for coming on tonight and hanging
Oh,
out,
I
like everybody said
appreciate it.
tonight.
And
Oh,
y'all do have me back, and I'll be glad we'll get all into this second deal here.
100%. And like I said, guys, the show notes are all in there, so you guys go click on those if you'd like to get his book and support him and his wife, so they can take some more trips together and go hang out and do some other things. I love that. Kelvin, this has been an absolute treat and pleasure. I want to wish you a fantastic evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And happy late or early anniversary here. I guess we're getting close for that for you guys. So
Oh, yeah.
very
Thank you.
nice.
I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. Like I say, this is the first time I've been on since I was diagnosed with cancer to sit and talk, and I was sick way before that. I just didn't know what was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, brother. Well, we'll keep you in our prayers. Excuse me, and positive thoughts and vibes. I know everybody said they're out there. They're praying for you, sending those positive vibes, and you enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll take you backstage, and I can remove you if you can't see how to do it. But there should be a remove button. You'll be able to take yourself out, and you'll be all set.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, brother. Have a good one.
Thank y'all. Thank you.
Bye. All righty. There we go, Josh. I got you back in there. All right, perfect. That actually flipped you right in as soon as you went out. I was like, flip it right in there. Wow, guys. Man.
Y'all are killing it. Yeah, that was awesome. I missed everything about the second abduction. I didn't hear anything about that.
We didn't get much. So all he basically said was he went out fishing, and guys, correct me in the chat if I got it wrong. It was about 11 a.m. and he got beamed up this time. There was no, I mean, obviously he didn't give details, so I can't say. But I think the only thing he said was that he kind of got beamed up. And he said this time he fought. He said this time him and the same lady, the same entity, he said beat the crap out of each other. And he didn't want to go into detail, but he said they were slamming each other into the walls to the point where she was bleeding, he was bleeding. I mean, Ben and Joe, I know and Joe, if you and Amanda are still driving and listening, and Ben, 100%, he said he'd come back on and share and really get into that story because that's a lot. But basically, he went missing at 11 a.m. and he didn't return. He woke back up at about 3 a.m. the next day. So he was gone for 16 hours. His wife had the Coast Guard out there and stuff thinking he had drowned.
Holy crap! Yeah, that's
Yeah.
intense.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, guys, for everybody who's saying we did a great job tonight, I mean, thank you so much for that. But honestly, come on. I mean, Kelvin did all the work there for us tonight. I was very excited when we were able to get that one set up. And especially with everything he's been through the past year has been pretty hard on him and everything that way. So, Ben, I know you're on father duties, but if you're open to it, I know that anybody would love you guys, and I know we got finished up pretty early today. We got a good hour and 20 minutes left before we roll into to SOR, and I was gonna check to see who we got on the SOR tonight or who Lynn's gonna have on there, but I don't think they put it up just yet. If anybody knows, throw it in the chat, and I will throw that up. Obviously, guys, you can catch Dave Scott Monday through Fridays. I'm going to go with Eastern time, so 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern time zone. I believe on the Pacific time zone, it's 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. And you got Lynn Wallington, who runs the same times, but on Saturday and Sunday. And then you got, like I said, the big announcement we're really excited about, myself and John Hudson and Gemma Jade over there with Steve Stockton. We're going to, all three of us, be doing an after-hours show coming up the second weekend of December there. So I'm very excited about that. But yeah. So how's your night going though, Josh? I was just saying, I don't know if you were able to hang out for a couple minutes or not. If not, that's okay.
Yeah, definitely, man. Actually, I've got a new roommate who witnessed an orb with me. Kind of chatted there.
Really?
Really, I had to drop a assload of information on them. They're asking me questions in a second now, but I mean, in a way, it kind of makes me feel good that somebody else is seeing this with me. You know, so I know I'm not totally crazy. Yeah, it's I mean, that's kind of why I asked him that question earlier about just rethinking your whole reality. Because I mean, to me, it's a paradigm shift like no other. You
Mm-hmm.
realize this real that you never thought possible your entire life, and then suddenly you're rethinking everything.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Let's see really quick too. Amanda said, yes, still on the road, but loving it. Great job, BigWilly. Oh, thank you. So yeah, Amanda, we'll be on for a little bit. Not that you have to get on there, but yeah, if you guys want. And this, so that means you guys heard Joe, Ben, you guys gotta bring him back. Because I don't know about you guys, but oh man, I really wanted to dig into that second event there and hear it from his own words. What did you guys think, by the way, of his voice? Like, just tell, he's got like the perfect storytelling voice, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, so believable too, man. You can tell he's humble.
Hmm. Now, really quick too, without putting too much of your information out there, that the last video you had kind of shared with me, that was you one that you personally were seeing, right, and recording there.
Oh no, I witnessed it. I didn't record it. No, but I
Okay.
saw it. Yeah, I'm actually I'm gonna hopefully go visit the Bledsoes this weekend. And yeah, man, if I can get anything recorded myself, I'll be sure to share it with you first.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no worries.
it just hasn't been so easy for me to get these things on camera myself. But I mean, I'm definitely seeing them, having other people see them with me, and it's just crazy.
Well, let's hit on that for a second because and if you're okay with this, since we have a couple minutes here to talk, and the last time you came on, it was really rushed. We didn't expect as nearly many people as we ended up getting that night. I felt bad. I was crunching everybody's times down. But you mentioned after being on here with Ben and Joe, not only did you start seeing some orbs, but you briefly mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, you said that you had a kind of a shadow creature entity encounter. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, that's something I'm still kind of trying to wrap. Man, I got it's crazy. I got chills as soon as you said it. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that a little bit.
Hmm.
Actually, I've I've got to respond to my email to move on about this. To be honest, they've been asking me about it. It really threw me for a loop. It's real wild, and I know a lot of people are going to hear this and think it's just bullshit. But I see four orbs, and what's weirder on top of that, it kind of links up with a weird premonition I had with a dream. And I even have this documented. I have a screenshot of the original conversation about the dream with the person's name. The fact I saw an orb the morning after this dream, and
Excuse me.
I sent this screenshot to Chris Bledsoe Sr. and MUFON, and they both have this information. And then this same person from this exact dream, I'm not going to give out her name. She has a near-death experience and calls me randomly. I know this is a little out there, but it's that night. It was the night after my first podcast with Ben and Joe. Really, I see four orbs, and I go to lay down, and it's like this. It looks solid, but like a shadow figure type thing going from my kitchen into my living room, and I mean, I don't know how it's to explain it. I never heard about shadow creatures until just recently, or whatever these things are, But it really threw me for a loop, man. And yeah, I'm honestly getting chills right now just talking about it. But yeah, it's definitely something.
Yeah, no worries. And like I said, I always feel so, what's the right term? I'm always curious, but I also never want any experience or in any capacity to ever feel pressured, right? To share anything because like we talked about tonight, When you guys are sharing that for us, we're just hearing an amazing, exciting story or maybe terrifying story. But for you, that's something you lived. That's something you've gone through. That's not just a story that's being read off a page. This is something that's a part of you and you've gone through now. So, I never want anybody to ever feel pressured, but obviously, you're always welcome. Anybody that's in the chat to share anything with. Ben and Joe have always left that door wide open for anybody to feel free to share their experiences without any sort of judgment, that comes with it. Because kind of like what he said too, it's funny that people are trying to get him to call out Travis Walton, like, well, did that or not happen? He's like, I wasn't there. How are you going to make me try to make a judgment call on someone else's experience? Never understood people to do that too much. But yeah, I'm glad you have those that you're able to reach out. The Bledsoes to me are some pretty amazing people who have had some absolutely extraordinary experiences, and people I understand have a lot of big opinions about them. But if nothing else, their experiences are their experiences, and I don't think we can take away from that too much.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everything's subjective to opinion, but somebody's experiencing it, and they're interpreting it in their own way. Whether other people agree with it or not, I don't believe that they're making any of this stuff up.
Right.
It's like they're going to try to piece it together in whatever way makes the best sense to them. I'm calling something a shadow creature, somebody else might call it a demon, somebody else might not think it's anything bad at all. Who knows what it really is.
Right. And if nothing else, excuse me, I guess too with all this stuff, that's one thing that has bothered me. So Melissa here, Nicole said, I don't know if she's being facetious. Oh man, dang it! Why would I even try that word? I know I can't say that word, and my mind was willing, but the body was not able on that one. But she says I brought home a shadow to one time. Who knows? Now, Melissa, are we saying that this was a legitimate shadow creature that perhaps was the traveler that followed you, or are we just going along with it, playing there a little bit? Hey, you guys, look at this. Phil from the What If Tomorrow Media podcast, formerly known as the What If Tomorrow podcast. Brother, it's so good to see you. It's been so long since we've had time to catch up. If you want, I can drop you a link and maybe you can hop in and say hi tonight. We're just gonna be hanging out for a little bit. We got an hour, if we need, up to an hour and 15 minutes left. There's no pressure. I'm just gonna kind of do what we did last week there, where we open up the door for some people to share a little bit. I think Ben might be getting on in a little while here. No, she's okay. So Melissa says she's being dead serious. Melissa says she'll come on and tell us about it sometimes. Well, you know what? The only time we're promised, right? It's here and now. Here and now is the time.
Anybody has any information about the shadow people or whatever the hell the things are, I'd love to hear about it. That's something totally new to me, to be honest. I have no reason to make up any of this. If anything, it makes me look crazy. So, I'm open to hearing anything about that.
Very interesting. Yeah, what I'll do is, Melissa, I don't have you on Facebook or anything. I don't think there's a way I can shoot that private message. But what I'll do, guys, is I'll put the link in there in the chat, and then if anybody wants to come on and share, depending on how many people we get, if anybody wants to share that, I mean, it is Halloween time. It is Devil's Night, so if anybody wants to come on and share any kind of, I guess it doesn't have to be creepy or anything like that. And like Melissa said too, for you there, Joshua, like she said, oops, I shared the wrong one. Chat moves fast sometimes. Like she said, I don't think you're crazy at all. It's and that's the thing. I guess what I was gonna say originally with the Bledsoes and stuff is that unless you've been there, how are you gonna make that call? And we all know, if you've seen something right now, anybody who's a skeptic, right? Or maybe you want to believe. We all have the shirt. We all have the poster. I want to believe. Even if you did finally see something, who would you really tell? And I'm going to be honest, there's only about 4 people. There's only about 4 people I know that I would call up and be like, you're never going to guess what happened. Solely because I feel like I'd be the worst one for it to happen to, because they're like, oh, we know you guys are into this stuff, so of course it happened to you, That's I feel like how it would go, which is for yourself, because you said you were a bit of a skeptic. Was that where you were at with things until you had some of these encounters?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that's the thing. There's times where I feel like I kind of wish none of this ever did happen to me, because I'd be living the normal life I was living before I ever believed in any of this stuff. But I mean, that's kind of why I asked, Calvin that earlier about the whole, questioning position in reality, because it really makes you rethink everything from history to, you know, theology, just, I mean, literally everything. Who you are, how you came to be. Just to me, that's at least what it made me feel, inside. That's what I've been feeling for the past year. It's just the entire paradigm shift that you go through whenever you really see something that shouldn't be possible, but it's in front of you. And yeah, that's the best way I can really say it,
Kronos shared something here in the chat, which is interesting. They said you can own, and they put kind of in quotation marks, the shadow creatures and take back ownership of your space. Very interesting. If you have any more on that, Kronos, do you mean like maybe you just think this? Do you just say, hey, you don't have any right here? Or do you speak something out loud? I wonder what the process on that is, you know? Because I'm sure you would feel pretty violated. I mean, you had that experience. I mean, there's something that's just there. If there's an entity, what do you do? I mean, I'm sure you didn't sleep too well that that night if it happened at
No, no,
night.
no, really, it's kind of crazy. He said that I mentioned this to like one person that I know personally, and they told me to, because they're all into like the high frequency stuff. They say, like demand it, like they're pretty much trying to tell me to keep like a high energy, like a repellent, I guess, against a low frequency being or something like that. And like I thought stuff like this was nonsense a year ago, but now I'm experiencing it. So I'm trying to keep that in mind, and I haven't had any kind of experiences like that that freak me out so far. Since then. I mean, I
Yeah.
think the whole seeing the lights in the sky is starting to get a little cool to me. I'm getting excited about it. But as far as seeing something, running through my home where I live, that's a little bit on the freaky side. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna keep everything in mind.
Well, it's a whole nother step. It's no longer something that's just in a, maybe floating around in the sky or on the like. This is something that's very personal. It's right here in your home. What are you supposed to do about that? And I don't know. I guess even with the orbs though, have it. I don't know if it was your case, but we know of experiences where people have had it right in their home. Have you had that same similar experience where it was that close to you?
No, I haven't had them in my home, but I don't mean to get onto the Bledsoes because I do know them personally, but he
Yeah,
has told
no.
me a story about one popping up in his home. Um, Literally, something that Ryan was actually telling me about it. I think Ryan's been on your show about some guy kind of made like a real subtle threat to them, and whenever they
Hmm.
did, like a orb popped up behind the guy's head. Have y'all heard that story? And the guy like bolted out the house. I haven't had them inside my home, but I mentioned talking to Ben and Joe, like literally right above my balcony 2 times, solo where the flash where they dematerialized, I could see it on the bottom of the clouds. And you know, I don't know, to me that's something that's and I mean, like I said earlier, maybe the shadow people aren't anything bad at all. I have no idea. But to me, whenever I was seeing the orbs in the sky, it was giving me more like a, oh my God, this is actually a really beautiful, kind of incredible thing. But just seeing an entity in my home, like knowing, I'm vulnerable there, I think that's what kind of gave me the freak factor about everything.
Yeah. Yep. Well, really quick. I love this. We got another guest backstage here. It's Sonny from the Paranormal Chop Shop, or as of yesterday, and now that people have seen him on the round table,
Uh,
aka Dave Jr.
Dave,
Dave Scott
my first
Jr.
name is Dave.
How's it going, guys?
What's
Doing
up,
good.
son?
The fishing story. That fishing
Telling you
story. That's
something about that fishing, which is same thing with you, right, Josh? You were fishing.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Bledsoes are fishing.
my very first experience. Yeah, I was fishing with I'm not going to say his name. People could link it together though. He's the same person I had my near death experience with. Like 10 years ago, but it was like 5 years ago. Me and him at the Cape Fear River, and it looks like a bright ass star in the sky, and he points it out whenever we get there. And I think I even joked about it. I said, that's probably fucking Venus. And so we keep fishing, and like 30 minutes later, I'm talking, and like mid sentence, no bullshit, this thing is sitting in one spot, and it just curves off in like a backward C motion. But I mean, like the blink of an eye, and I freeze mid sentence, and I can remember perfectly. My friend just goes like, "Dude, did you just fucking see that?" And I mean, we both froze, and he described exactly what I saw. And I'm like, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, that star just curved and shot off." And it still trips me out to this day. But for the past 5 years, I kept this in the back of my mind, even though it baffled me. And it wasn't until this year when I saw the Pentagon UAP reports on the news that switch just like flipped in my head. Like, holy shit, this stuff is actually real. Yeah, that's really how I got into this, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's with me and my cousin Papa Willie, the guy in the chat you see in there, Josh. I saw we were fishing. Yeah, we were fishing, and we've seen stuff fishing that we actually called in and I told the story on the show. But yeah,
same thing. Original story. What did you see?
That was when I told him about the lights. We seen some lights in the sky, just like a light bar turned on and then turned off. It looked like someone was taking a picture of you, but a really big, huge light bar in the sky. And at first, Papa Willie didn't see it, and he asked me if I took a picture of him with the phone, and I said, no, man, I don't know what that was. I told him I've never seen anything like that before. And then I was trying to explain it to him, and I couldn't. And then wasn't very much longer later, we were both fishing, this time facing the same direction, okay? And it would have went off back here behind him the last time. This time I'm facing the same way as him, and it had moved around in front of us.
Cheers,
so it went off directly in front of us. Just a real bright light. It was so bright, your first instinct was to look down because it's that bright. It's like you're staring at the sun. But when we looked down this time, it reflected out of the water because it was over the water this time. So there was no looking away from it when we looked down. Really bright. And then I told him that's what that was. But yeah.
Sounded like it had some size on it then.
It was big. It was definitely a big bar of light, but that's all you could see was just a big bar of light. We had no idea what it was.
That's wild.
Which is pretty crazy because you know how you hopped on with us briefly there, Josh, a couple nights ago, which I really appreciate. I'm sorry. Man, was that 2 weeks ago when we did the one with Celine? No. What that was last week. Sorry guys, my days are getting all mixed up. But when you hopped on and you shared that story about your grandfather, that is pretty interesting. I know Sonny, like you said, I don't know if you'd want to say it or not. I think you said it live on air last time, right?
Go ahead, tell him on air. See what happens when I see you next. Yeah, I teared up, Josh. He can tell you.
Yeah,
I'll finish watching the show later.
Yeah.
Good to see it again. Tissue.
And then the guest this is on tonight, Big Willie.
Yeah,
that sounds exactly like me and Papa Willie's papaw. I could play you a tape of them. You wouldn't be able to tell those two men apart. They sound exactly alike.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I love his accent. Or just, I shouldn't even say, well, I guess it's a little bit of an accent, but just his voice. Like I said, he has that perfect I'm going to sit down and tell you a story. The guy could be reading the phone book like they used to say. I know we don't do that anymore, but back when there were the giant phone books, right? They used to say that he had a voice, he could just read the phone book and you'd want to listen to him. But he's just so genuine. Did you guys catch him when he was pissed off at that chick that put her finger down his throat? Did anybody else catch that part of the show?
Yeah.
Dude, I could.
That's why when he said the second time he wasn't going peaceful, I was like, I don't blame you after the first time. That's what I was thinking.
I know.
I'm not gonna lie. When he said she wasn't that bad looking, I laughed out loud.
That's what I'm saying. That's someone who just kept it so real, and like, again, some of these people have told I get it, their stories hundreds or thousands of times, maybe some of the really big ones. And so perhaps they lose some of that, I don't know, like relatability just because it becomes such a crisp, clean, way that they share it. But yeah, I love that he just shared it as it was, man. He called it like it was. He wasn't holding back at all on that one. Oh my gosh, guys. Look who we got here. By the way, guys, really quick for everybody who might be wondering, if I ever do this at SOR or do it on here, is that when we mention sus, if you see anybody saying that, they're not making fun of anybody in the chat. Just so everybody knows, if you see someone put, or at least myself, say kinda sus, it's just so that we can take a drink of whatever we got going on tonight. So just so people know, we're not poking fun at anybody at all over there. Guys, we have a little known podcast here in the background. Sus from 509, yes sir, right there, drink. and he wants to come on and share some of his experiences, I guess, that he has tonight. We never know what we're gonna get with him, so I always keep my finger right over the remove button. But welcome to the show. We don't always really know who it is, by the way, because we only ever see one at a time. This is the way. Welcome, Mr. Mandalorian, to the.
Hey, I've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty.
Dang it! Remove right there. Done. He's out. He's out of the chat. I tried.
I freaking found you, man. Just give up. Come on.
Oh
Come
man.
on, Bubba. Come on, Bubba.
Oh god.
Dude, that was what's up, boys?
What's up?
That was a last minute decision to put that helmet on. I'm just very proud of it.
Dude, that's why I held off. I was about to bring you in. I was like, oh, he's getting something. By the way, yeah, your outfit that you guys pulled together, pretty awesome, by the way, for Halloween. The baby, the wife, and everything. Great way to go with it.
Thanks, man. I mean, nothing tops Sonny's, though, dude. Like, he texted me a couple days ago with a photo, and I'm like, no, it's too good. Like, it's so good, dude.
I see when I first jumped on.
Dude, and like Dave's reaction was priceless. Like, oh, he was speechless. It was so funny, dude. I loved it. Like, that's like the pinnacle, right? Like, if anybody dresses up as you, like, that's like the most. I don't know. It's awesome, you know. That was badass. Sonny, he crushed it.
Thanks, man. That's what me and Lady Ann were talking about. I told her that's how I'm looking at it. If someone dressed up as me as for Halloween, dude, that's it. You've done it. You know,
Yeah.
People are dressing up as you.
Yeah. I loved how you said it. You were like, well, Halloween, you dressed up as heroes. You're a hero, and you know, Dave's got, I mean, he's a hero of mine too, man. So, if you didn't really like, I guess from the outside looking in, you're like, wait, hold on, wait, who is who? Who is who? Because it looks so much like it. It was crazy, and you went the extra mile too. Did you dye the beard or?
Yeah, and I don't think some of that white's coming back out.
Yeah, blame it on that, dude, for sure.
That's what it is.
Oh yeah.
It's the makeup, guys. That's all that is.
Extra makeup.
Yeah, I'm not going gray. It was that one time during Halloween, bro. I promise.
Oh man.
But dude, William
was sus.
Great job. This is very sus. Also, by the way.
No, thank you, Ben, for even giving me the opportunity to hang out with you guys and help other people share their experiences and be part of the garage. Honestly, I know you and I have talked about this before. Remember when I was so scared to message you like 2 years ago to be like, just to mention you guys on our show? It was like the second episode my brother and I ever did together. I'm like, hey, can I just give you guys a shout out? Because we were going to do our UFO episode.
Yeah.
That I wrote like a 186-page email for. It's so bad.
Dude, that was honestly like, I'll say this every time. What's our best? You know, if somebody says like, what's some of your favorite episodes? And that is always one of them is the Detloff Pass incident.
Oh, the Detloff Pass.
Was that the first one that you guys were on with us? I feel like it was, right?
That was the first one we were on your show. You guys came over with us when we did the Murray Island incident. Episode 12, I believe it was for us. And then for you guys, yeah, I was like, man, that was 20s.
We didn't know shit about the Murray Island incident.
Dude, it was the best thing ever. I was so stoked. Not that Ben and Joe don't know their stuff, but I thought they knew everything. I thought these guys were like, dude, I thought they just had everything memorized. If I have any question, they have the answers, and we brought them on. And we kind of brought up, like, the Murray Island incident is known, but, like, all the details aren't as known, I guess. And so I just brought them on. I was like, we got Ben and Joe, UFO Garage. All right, guys, tell us everything. And then...
I mean, dude, yeah, we didn't know shit. I mean, I feel like we know a little bit more, but, like, Ben looks crazier than Will. Yeah, dude. The fun thing about it is like we're all on this journey together, right? Like shit, I definitely learned more since. I mean, dude, like just talking to you guys and doing the show. But the best questions and stuff that I love to learn is experiencer to experiencer, and I mean tonight you guys. Those questions were awesome. Talking to Calvin, that was amazing, bro.
I was just excited that when we touched base because I knew he'd had a rough year, and honestly did not think he was gonna respond. I'm not even gonna lie. Like when I sent that one out, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna shoot my shot. You know, like YOLO, here we go. Like whatever, I'll throw one out there. And he responded. I was like, what? No way. And
Dude, what
he's
an
an awesome guy.
what an epic like part of history you made happen, dude. And yeah, that was freaking awesome. So what do y'all think about that second part? Like,
Man, I gotta go back and rewatch it.
dude,
It's a good chunk of it.
yes.
Yeah.
I want to know, man. He sounded like, I mean, he's been, working out and just, I mean, he sounded great, dude. I don't know what, I did not know that he was going through some shit.
Yeah. It's been hard times.
Yeah. But shit, dude, he crushed it. And dude, that was a great episode, bro. I've been watching, just doing dad duty, and just let's put the little one down. So
Dad duty.
that's why I'm like, duty, dude. Poop.
See, that's how long we can last. That's how mature we are when we get together, right? Like when we're separate, I think that people are like, man, these guys are pretty good. But then, like we get together, it's like done. It's over. It's no good.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, Sonny, I mean, you heard the whole show. What did you think of that second part though? Like, were you expecting him to say we were bashing each other against the wall and fighting?
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. I'm like you. I want to hear the whole fight story now. I want to hear what happened. I want to hear how it started and how it ended.
Yeah.
Because he said basically it ended with him being put back in the boat. Well, it sounds like they gave up. They didn't want to take him that time.
Dude,
So why is he talking for this? Like, I jumped right back in here and him saying something about his head was bleeding. I'm like, God, what did I miss?
So they were both bleeding.
Yeah. Josh, was it you that was asking about, like, did he have any dreams? Okay, so I was curious about that too. I was hoping did he answer that? Because I was kind of in and out, like holding baby,
That was right whenever I jumped out. Yeah.
So did he remember any dreams at all, or
Far as the first experience or the second experience?
yeah, the first experience? Did he answer the question, or
The first experience, he remembered everything. There was never any. He's one of the enigmas, as it were, in the ufology cases or abduction cases, where there was no removal of memory. There was no. I don't know if they forgot. Maybe it was like the first day in their job, and they're like, "Man, I'm crushing this," and they like everything else perfect except for like, "Oh, I shoved my fingers down your throat and made you bleed." Like, and then I'm like, "No, it mean no harm. Sorry." Not to make like light of it, but like at the same time in my head, I'm like, it was the first day, right? Like, I mean, it seems like, and then she forgot to erase his memory.
so, dude? Will, you bring up a good point, dude. I think it was this exact scenario or this case that me and Joe did an episode about a while back, and my analogy that I came up with was this. I took a field trip in college to one of my professor's barn where we like made some shit out of wood. It was like super Austin art school kind of stuff. And it's freezing cold. I've got gloves on and I'm looking for pieces of wood. It's like this broken down barn. We're looking for like reclaimed wood and stuff. I find this piece and I lift it up off of the ground, and there's like hay and like grass and stuff. And I see like a family of little tiny cute mice that are sleeping in this little tin that's underneath this block of wood. And my dumbass tries to pick one up, dude. And my hands are freezing. And I was just so fascinated by it. I just wanted to see, like, are they alive? Like, whatever. I just can't. I pick up animals. I love animals. So I picked up this little baby mouse and I squeezed it too hard, dude. And I still have nightmares about that. Like, and I killed it. I killed the mouse. And I feel so bad. I'm like, dude,
Then said duty.
I said duty, yeah. But like that's kind of the analogy where like this case is it does seem like they were just interested. They were just stopping by. They really didn't know how to handle a human. I mean, obviously they didn't kill him, but like, dude,
it seemed great.
So like, dude, that was the analogy that I gave in that episode, and I feel like it kind of makes sense. I mean, is that an okay analogy to make? Like, it was, the intentions weren't bad. It was like,
right, because then she tells them, she's like, "Hey, I don't mean any harm. Like, hey, we're just here to help. Like, she's not saying I'm studying, but I feel like that's what we're doing." So that's where it's like, in my head, I've always wondered about it because there's a cartoon. I forget which cartoon it's on the beginning of, but there was a little, the Pixar shorts. I have kids, obviously, so like, I love my shorts. But Pixar shorts are amazing. And there was this one, and it was specifically about this alien training with this other alien to like abduct somebody. And he's sitting at this board that's like literally like 100 feet long in either direction, and there's switches to everything. And he doesn't know how anything works. So he's just beating the crap out of this guy, like whirlwinding him around the room, right? Trying to make everything work. And sometimes I've wondered, like, when certain people get taken, like, everybody has to have their first time, their first day. Maybe this is one of those cases where, like, whoopsies, I forgot. I don't know.
Man.
Hey, you guys want to know a crazy thought? Sorry to interrupt you, Sonny.
Oh, go ahead.
You were sitting there talking about, them just kind of like doing like their job or some type stuff. I was looking at something with a Skinwalker Ranch earlier about how some of the like the cattle mutilations where like the slices are like perfectly between like the cells. I mean, how do you explain? It almost made me think like, what if these things are really like extra dimensional and they're doing like science experiments on like a lower dimension beneath them? As crazy and out there as that sounds. But I mean, you get what I'm saying? I mean, doesn't it seem like, something like that could be possible? Or like, what if these UFOs that they're coming in on are actually like something where they're like shrinking down to like travel to a lower dimensional to be able to like do these experiments and observe, what's going on in this reality. I know I got a little out there with that, but I mean, I don't know. I get these thoughts now. I mean,
so much to add to that, but I want Sonny to chime in on this.
Oh no, that was for him. I'm like you, man. Like when he said they stuck the fingers down his throat, for all you know, they were doing that just to say, "Hey, what happens if I stick my finger down this throat?" You really don't know why they're doing it, but there's so many people that say it's happening. It's got to be, they're telling the truth. You can see the look in their eyes when they're telling their stories. Yeah, this stuff happened.
I mean, think about this, like grounded a little bit. Maybe if he was sleeping in some form of fashion, maybe he's a snorer and they were trying to save his life. Who knows, dude? They were like, he's joking. Let's do something.
I thought he was growling.
Could be that, dude. I don't know, but so I mean, Josh, if I could weigh in on your thought about the cattle mutilation thing, I don't know if you've seen American Horror Story lately. They're doing like this UFO, like half of the season. It's like you have it's like, all right, it's like so on the nose, but also like shit. You've heard the term of somebody help me out. It's not like disinformation, but it's like misinformation. Where it's like they kind of Hollywoodize things to make it seem so ridiculous that if anybody were to regurgitate any of this stuff, it would discredit them, which is such a catch-22, snake biting its tail. It's like, oh shit, well, damn it. It's really good to watch because there's so many things, little details. But anyway, I'm watching the show, and that's the kind of feeling that I got when thinking about the cattle mutilation or cattle mutilation when they're talking about this hybridization program, where I don't want to do any spoilers, but they touch on the hybridization program, and they don't really talk about cattle all that much. There is a cattle scene in it that's pretty freaking gory. Whoever did that special effects, it was awesome. But this is the thought that I got from that scene recently, is that if there was an alien race that was trying to be in this dimension on a regular basis, not just whip in and out, for a little bit McDonald's here and there, some French fries here, but if they wanted to stay and be in this dimension, they would have to find a viable womb. And maybe they started out with cattle because they didn't have really the paperwork to do it on humans yet. And that's where that kind of started. I mean, you can go a million different ways with this, or a couple different ways, or maybe they started out with cattle and then they went up to humans. I don't know. That's just kind of where my head went.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Julie, by the way, bye. Thank you for being here tonight. We'll see you over there with Lynn Wallington tonight. And guys, if anybody knows who Lynn has on tonight, I know her big round table's tomorrow, but I don't usually. I usually
put it in your messenger.
Did you send me a messenger, man? I'm sorry. I will check that. Oh, you did send me that. It showed up as like a big long thing. All right. apologize, guys. Wow, why is it so long?
I
Lisa Morton. That's right. All right. So Lisa Morton tonight, guys, with Lynn Wallington in about 45 minutes here. All right. But thank you, Julie, for hanging out with us tonight. Yeah, Josh, you probably know about this. Obviously, hanging out with the with the with the Bledsoes. And anybody who listens to Bledsoe said so, guys. I'm sorry. I don't want to. Is that okay to mention?
Great podcast. Hell yeah, dude, this is awesome. Getting me some best podcast. Best podcast out there right now.
So good.
It's so good.
But yeah, dude, they literally used the exact location, name of the river, and everything from his dad's and from
The Cape River too. Shit.
same place as the American Horror Story. What are the chances?
Oh, in America. What? Are you serious?
It's the exact location.
What?
Cape Fear. It is the perfect name for it. You know. Now that I think about it, yeah, it's crazy.
Oh my
Isn't
god.
that weird?
Black chick said, "Wow, why do you make me read?" That's funny.
By the way, speaking of Black Chick, really quick, well, since we're talking about her,
Why is she on probation? Was she on? Is she on chat probation right now? Like somebody was like,
dude. So I might not be able to get you on next week because, like I said, I have NK Kanata next week, and I think I'm booked all the way till literally the second weekend of December. But we've got Sonny here from the Paranormal Chop Shop. You've got Ben and Joe as well. So like, if anybody ever has any experiences or whatever, there are other podcasts. Chad freaking Smith, Mother Trucker, has his own podcast now, right? There are podcasts out there, and we all kind of know each other, so we'd probably show up or be there or maybe be around perhaps. To definitely be able to get you on. And Black Chick, I think she was in the chat.
we've
2
got to
weeks
have
ago,
Black chick
Sonny?
on like ASAP.
I tried to invite her, but she said she's got some. Well, let me hang on. I'll go scroll up to find exactly what she said. I didn't know if I was going to share it or not, but it made me laugh so hard. So let me see if I can find
She's
this.
fun.
Hang
She's
on.
funny.
Hey, Ben.
Let's see.
What's
Go
up,
ahead.
dude?
I think I started noticing a pattern.
Oh,
Didn't you
shit.
kill Joe's fish too?
Oh God, don't talk about me.
You did, and then the mice. You
Look,
don't like
dude,
animals.
it was an
You don't
accident.
like PETA's gonna be after you, dude.
Okay, Sonny, I know where you live, brother. I hope you don't have fish or mice.
So Black Chick said, "No, I cannot tonight, but I can next week." And then she said, "I'm on mom duty this week, but next week is MILF duty." And I called, dude.
Yeah, dude.
I wanted to share it, but I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it made me laugh. So anybody out there now who's turned us off, we've gone from like, we had like 50 something people in here at one point. to
Yeah,
now,
that's
like,
my fault.
20.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's okay.
should've
They're like,
stayed
oh my
out.
God, Joe is on his own show, or Ben. Ben's on his own show. How dare this man show up?
I feel like it. I love what's happening, dude. Like, Will, dude, like you came on our show, and like a couple more people. All we just needed was like 10 more people to hear how awesome you are, and now you're more famous than us. So
No.
that's cool.
Never ever. Listen, we're a freaking team.
And
We're a freaking
it's-
team.
Sonny's
Okay.
next, and Joshua's next. So
When the guy came on the other day and said, "So you let Ben and Joe go on your show?" I was back here crying, dude. I was dying laughing.
Wait,
I
you
put
let
in
those
chat.
guys
Yeah,
on?
sometimes even lets them ride in the van.
Oh man.
I went back. I got the text message from Sonny first, and I was like, "Oh wait," and I actually watched it. He didn't say that, dude.
I didn't say it. He said that coming on.
He's.
But you thought okay, you thought I said that.
I was like,
never do
wait.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
No, dude, that was
Well,
hilarious. Like,
Big Willie, man, I also want to know, you have any kind of sightings yourself? Sorry.
I missed. What was the first part that were you asking me a question or sorry?
Yeah, sorry, my phone just totally broke up. I was asking Big Willie, man. Yeah, you had any kind of sightings yourself? I'm sorry, my phone's fucking up really bad right
you're
now. I can't
okay.
hear anything.
It's so funny.
All right, I'm good
So-
now. Can you hear me? Sorry about that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, we can hear you now. By the way, to answer this question really quick, and I will get to yours, Josh. Tammy, are there reports of human mutilations? 100%. Look up South America mutilations. There were some, matter of fact, Steve Stockton called, if you look up SOR, has promoted them quite a few times. 13 Past Midnight, they have a lot of stories. But Steve came out one time and shared the one where there was like a whole family. If I'm not getting this wrong, it was a family, and I think four or six children, all their dogs, their cats, their goats, everything on the property were drained of their blood. Everything. And this is where you get into the stuff like, dude, are vampires still out there? Are they still, But anyways, yes, the mutilation stuff, it is there. It's pretty, to me, it's pretty terrifying when you actually look into it. So, Tammy, I'm not the right person to ask, but Black Chick as well as Melissa, who are in the chat, hang out there over quite a bit, and they could probably get you the links. The only one I know of off the top of my head is the 13 Past Midnight, as well as the Nighttime. It's a Nighttime Tales or something like that on YouTube. I've been hopping there a couple times too. But yeah, Josh, I don't see. I could never conclusively and I hate. Okay, I'm gonna be the guy that I like when I listen to these people and they're like, "Well, let's define." And you're like, "Oh, come on, dude. Really? You're gonna be like, let's define. Did you see something?" I could never conclusively say. I can never conclusively say I've seen something solely because I know that memory's a fickle thing, right? So like,
Just tell us what you
I think for sure I've had some experiences, but majority of those happened when I was much, much younger. And so it's in the back of my head, I'm always like, man, is it your imagination? Was it, you're a kid with an active imagination? Some of it I know wasn't, but to what extent, I don't know, because I was raised in such a religious household. Everything was either angels or demons, right? And so that's how I interpreted everything. You know what I mean? It was either this or that. And it now coming and hearing through the community and hearing some of these stories, I'm like, oh, that's why Terry Lovelace's story. I legitimately had to like turn off I was listening to his book at work. I had to like take a minute to like wipe a tear out of my eye because it got to me it bothered me that much hearing him talk about the monkeys coming into his room. That bothered me so much. Even though for me it wasn't monkeys for me when I was a kid, but it was that idea of that same experience of being a little kid and things coming into your room and it doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? It's a scary thing when you're just a little one. Yeah. And you know what's really crazy now? It sounds so bad, but like this is starting, I think stuff's happening like with Liam because he was totally fine and now he's like he cannot sleep he went from like in his bed totally fine. And I get again, I don't ever want to like read too much into stuff, but like he went from being totally fine to like just terrified to sleep in his own bed because he said it's going to get him and he never defines what it is, and that's the only part that's rough is if your kid, like maybe yourself, you're like whatever, but now that you're a parent and like, man, you have your own little baby now, so you get that, like it's probably started to kick in for you as a father. Anybody who has a kid, it's such a, I would never want to rob them of their own experiences, but man, is it terrifying if that's going on,
Yeah.
It's hard to put it into words, I guess. I've never really tried to put it to really put it out there, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, what is the most for anybody really for the human condition is being like out of control. You do look like you're 25, by the way, Willie, dude.
Until I take my hat off and then you're like, does that guy fit 5 years old? It's like, I gotta shave, dude. I'm gonna shave my head down the rest of the way before I go SOR for sure. You seen it? You seen how low I had it?
Dude, I thought you were doing that on the reg, dude. You look good, bro. You look intimidating, but you're also like the nicest dude ever. Like what is it? What's the actor's name? Dang it. He's in the Jump Back guy. He's the
Jump Street?
No, wait a minute. Bruce Willis. There we go. Bruce Willis.
Jump Back
Jump
guy.
Back.
What was the correlation on that?
He's in no other movie but that one movie that I should.
Jump Back guy. Sorry, I interrupted your train of thought. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Shit. Oh, I guess I was gonna say like the intensity of like, dude. Oh, yes. So the most terrifying thing for the human condition is the unknown. So not knowing what something is, especially for a child. I guess maybe for a child it's like easier to grasp because everything is kind of like, well, I don't fucking know, dude. I mean, diamonds are there's ghosts and dinosaurs. everywhere, or everyone's an alien, possibly. I don't know. But yeah, you gave me chills when you mentioned that, because that's something that I have not thought of for my daughter if she sees anything like that. So I mean, I haven't had any encounters that were personal or anything like that. I've only seen lights and orbs and stuff, but still, it's like this. The thought is scary, right? Like, how do you approach that? How do you explain that shit?
I'll admit, I've been doing it a little bit different because, and some of this I already started doing, but then like I talked to Ann about it too. And she was saying the idea that we as parents, condition our children down, even though we're as adults might be into some of the stuff, we're still conditioning them down to be like, oh, it's just your imagination or what you're seeing on TV. That isn't real. Those things don't exist. And like she said, what do you do if your kid encounters that? Their entire paradigm is just destroyed. And who are they supposed to go to? You've told them this doesn't exist. So all of a sudden I've encountered this, whatever it might be, an apparition, a ghost, or anything. And if you were saying these things don't exist, but then you hit that weird spot where you're like, are you going to manifest things if you're telling them they exist?
Ooh.
It gets weird, right?
Yeah.
Hadn't thought about that.
But I do keep it pretty open when the kids, when they ask, I just tell them, everybody raise your kids how you want, but like, I was like, yeah, I think stuff's out there, but I was like, we don't always know, but we don't know what's out there. So I was like, if you see something, you can totally tell us. It's okay. You know what I mean? Because who knows? We don't know.
Man, what you said, if I can add in about telling them, these things exist, will it start manifesting? I got into a deep thought about this yesterday, just watching my nephew on a tablet and being only like 3 years old and being able to move their fingers, super fast, and like doing this stuff on this computer that they've got, before, like at my age, I was even going to school and then thinking, a kid's brain is already like a sponge at that age. So think, they're already absorbing this super advanced technology that, like, who knows, we probably did get this technology from reverse engineer and shit, but I'm thinking, like, they've got this advanced technology and they're working with their fingers at such a young age. And it's like their brains are already absorbing super fucking fast. So it's like, it's doubling, I know I went off a little bit of a tangent there, but you get what I'm saying, like about telling them to be able to manifest this stuff. They're already manifesting, how to be able to do things in a blink of an eye, how to be able to get instant knowledge. And it's literally making their brains work quicker as the days go by. I don't know. I'm sorry. You triggered something in my head when you said that, Willie.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine, brother.
Deep.
I love that. Damn.
Yeah.
I love that. I wonder if it's this catalyst, right? Like this idea that if you can think it, if we're talking about, manifesting things, whether it be a situation or an outcome, if it's attainable, if you leave your mind open to it and the power of manifestation, dude. There's been how many books written about that shit? So how is that, if it can apply to success or money or whatever, why can't it apply to the phenomenon?
Yeah, definitely
true. And if we're teaching our kids at a young age that you can achieve, really what they're doing is telepathy, right? Like if we're learning digitally, we're not speaking, for at home, answering.
So what's the thought on that then? Like, we know how we talk about like the natural calcification of the pineal gland over time through not only just the natural effect of that, but then getting into all the stuff that's in everything we eat and drink and all that other jazz that plays into that now. Look how early children are on tablets or on electronics now. And I'm not saying that's all bad, because I understand that's where we're going, but man, are they like knocking it out so soon? Because like for me, we didn't get our first TV till I was 11. So we didn't have that. You had time to sit around and play and imagine and be involved in creating in your mind. And if we hadn't had that, then like I hate to say it, like even time with like our kids, like sometimes like we have a DVD player in the van, so like we got a long drive. Heck yeah, that DVD player's on, right? So whereas like we had to like talk about stuff and play trivia and games and whatever else. I just wonder if, and I don't think it's any entity out there targeting this, but I could see how it also be doing it naturally anyways, is that maybe now we're affecting them even earlier on to where that already been toned down a little bit to where they won't even have the experiences that they might remember. Because mine were up until I was, 9, so there was years worth of spans of time where stuff was going on. It wasn't just a one-time thing. Whereas like if all of a sudden if I was my tablet from the time I'm 2 years old, maybe I wouldn't have even been paying attention. You know what I mean?
You hit on something real quick, Willie. Talking about memory and childhood memory, and how powerful it was when, I mean, we've all skinned our knee, running around as a kid, or skateboarding or roller skating and stuff. And you remember how terrifying that was, and like, oh, I'm bleeding. Like, oh my God, what? My leg does that. I have that stuff in my mind. But imagine like not having that. What are the future of our kids? Are we gonna like, are they gonna get their first knee scrape when they're 12 and they like, trip on the steps of, I don't know, going to the bank? I don't know, the outside bathroom will be, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of somewhere with stairs, but like talk about memories and how each memory is, you use all of your senses, but now everything's digital. So you're only using your eyes and your ears. And I mean, you're not really using any other thing. Everything else is constant. Like you can control your temperature inside and all that. You can wear pants or not. I don't know. But like, yeah, like storing memories. I wonder how that's going to change.
Really quick, Kara, am I saying her name wrong here, guys? I'm having a brain fart. Is it
Kiara?
Kira? It is Kira? Okay.
Kira.
So from obviously SOR, who has got a wrench over there. Thank you for all the hard work you do every night over there. But she was saying weird stuff under my bed and in my closet, a portal. So like when you were a kid, this stuff was happening, or are you saying like currently? And to the point that we were bringing up just now, Ben, Tammy brings up a good counterpoint to kind of what we were talking about. She said, what about this thought? We think kids and computers so young is a bad thing, but maybe their brains are waking up to way more than the 10% we use, and we should embrace that for these new children. And I'm not saying you're wrong either.
That's actually what I was going to get on to. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd been initially thinking, this was maybe like a terrible thing, like, oh, Elon Musk is going to put computer chips in our brain and turn us all into Terminator Judgment Day type shit. But I started thinking, like, what if instead, like, it's really waking us up to, this maybe cosmic knowledge that's about to come, whenever people find out that they're not alone, or, just like whenever just we go, like she said, accessing a higher percentage of our brain, what if like kids adjusting to the internet at such a young age where their brains are already like sponges, is kind of getting them a little, I'm getting tongue tied here, sorry. A little ready, before, they actually get to that stage, be able to accept that kind of knowledge. That might be coming in the future. Because, I really feel like it's only going to be a matter of time. People are going to know this stuff is legit,
Yeah.
Stuff those Navy plane fires, or talking about seeing a tic tac, whether it's man made or not, it's real. Sorry, I didn't mean to get tongue tied there. It's definitely something.
I don't think there's anything that's too far out, because like what I love about these conversations and why I'm so excited for like doing this, and then obviously like this after hour show we're going to do with SOR, is that people sharing these experiences and experiences of any sort. Almost everybody, Joe and Ben, you guys, like when Joe put that post out on Facebook and he's like, listen, everybody hit me up. They're like, we've all had some sort of weird experience, right? And then when you start talking and correlating these other, it almost triggers memories or triggers thoughts within us that like they just make sense. So I love hearing other people. I don't think there's any guys. Bim Jim, if you're still in here, I love you, brother, but you might be the most out there thing I've ever heard. You came on the show and you said you can turn yourself invisible. That takes balls. Either way,
learn how to do that.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So I mean, for me, I love when you guys share stuff. I don't really cast any judgment on it. It is what it is. It doesn't mean I have to 100% believe everything you've said, but if I'm not there, how can I say that's not true? I guess you know what I mean. I'm not there. Really quick, William does not think time is linear, but I will drink to sus on that. And so also. Kira said, yes, as a kid, and I still see the dimensional beings as an adult. Very interesting. Kira, Kira, forgive me. I'm still like I feel so like so new to SOR and all that. If you have you shared your experience like on the show before? Have you gone on to share? Because I would love to check that out if you have. And if not, I can't speak for Joe and Ben, I guess, all the time, but they might be up for like totally having somebody on. I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't know if I should like.
Yeah, I didn't. Oh, that's a great question because Kira's. I've known about her since I've been in the SOR chat and the fan for like the past like year and a half. So I mean, I've always seen her as a wrench on SOR. So I'd love to hear her story.
Yeah,
That would be dope.
very interesting. Really quick, guys, I'm gonna be right back. So, you know what to do, Ben. Like, you know, whatever. I'll be right back in just a second. So, guys, give me like 2-3 minutes, and I'll be right back. All right. I'll take myself out.
All right, so I totally know what I'm doing by myself. Joe is I could really could use Joe. What I mean, Sonny, what kind of jokes do you got?
I want to know. I want to know who came up with the picture of you mowing the lawn in that costume. News that was funny. I see the picture.
Oh, dude, yeah, the Mandalorian. My wife was like, okay, well, you look like way too cool, so people are gonna make fun of you. You should, do something that makes you look less cool. So we just took a bunch of photos of me doing chores.
It was like the Mandalorian honeydew list. It was.
Yeah. Did you notice in the one photo where I'm doing the dishes, or I put the actual like dishes glove, like the plastic gloves?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny.
At first, I didn't even see the name. I just seen the pictures at first, and I was thinking, who the hell is it? And then I was like, oh man, it's Ben.
Yes. I did the company I work for, my day job. We did a Halloween costume contest, and I stayed up all night making that damn costume. And by the time we were like, because we have people all over the world, we're all it's a remote company. So at 10 a.m. is our Halloween costume. So I'm sitting there like dead, but luckily I have the helmet on. So you can't really see that I'm dead tired. But yeah, dude. It was fun, dude. But everybody was like, okay, so have you been like not doing any work and just working on this costume? Like,
yeah, because it looked good. It looked good.
Thanks, man.
I gotta tell you guys, I know y'all gonna hate me for this probably. I was never too much into Star Wars. I watched that Mandalorian show, like binged both seasons back to back. It's fucking awesome. I'm not gonna lie, it got me hooked. But I watched Mandalorian and went back and watched the prequels. Now I'm getting into it, man. But,
love that,
dude. It
dude.
was killer.
See, I didn't like Star Wars either, and I got hooked on the Mandalorian. That's how I started watching it.
Had an edgy thing, man. Edgy, yeah, gritty kind of.
Yeah.
I love that's your journey, right? Like with Star Wars, everybody starts out with the originals, but you start Mandalorian is also
it is
pretty damn
badass.
Awesome.
Let's be honest, The Mandalorian was better than the last almost all three movies. The last two for sure. The last one for sure. The first of the last three, I was kind of okay with because like there were certain parts you've seen the Millennium Falcon, you're like, oh my god, it's the Millennium Falcon. But the Mandalorian just felt way more like Star Wars to me.
It felt more relatable because you didn't have to be magic.
Little bit.
Like you didn't have to have the Force to be the main character. I thought that was more relatable. I mean, Baby Yoda, of course, did, but like the main character he was just a badass. I thought it was more relatable. I don't know.
I like that the main character was badass, edgy dude, but at the same time, you've seen that he's got a heart taking care of this. Grogu is that was his name. It was epic to me. That shows real heart. He's badass when he needs to be, but at the same time taking care of something innocent. I don't know. I related to that.
Well, and think about it built like he had a kind of a real hero's journey, right? I feel like everything's so rushed with our attention spans anymore that like what we're doing is kind of considered ancient. It's lost form. Doing long forum interviews, like that's why Dan Warren is doing so amazing, is because that man can pack so much information. He used to have to do it in 60 seconds. Now at least he gets 3 minutes, but like He'll pack so much information in just a couple minutes, and then bam, they're on the next thing. I think that's why I kind of hate Twitter, is because everything's so short. And I get that people don't have the time to always dedicate it to this, but man, this time, like you guys, you have to know, either being in the chat or if you, especially if you've done this and you've talked, dude, 3 hours is gone like that. Like
Yeah.
it's so weird.
Yeah. I feel like on Twitter and in TikTok, you have to be able to communicate very, very efficiently. I'm not good at that. Dan Warren is a master at that. But like, obviously, we like to sit around and chat and get details out there. But I mean, there's this quote. My favorite musician, John Mayer, he made this quote. Like, dude, he got so into like Twitter, like that he just began to think and act within this constraint, whatever that word is, but like a very construct, a very short like way of thinking and communicating, and it kind of changes the way you think. If you only have 40 characters, it used to be, wasn't it 40? Like it used to be, right? Like it used to be 40 characters.
It's a little more now. It might be 140 characters now or something like that. I don't know. I don't really use Twitter that much.
I think it's like 200 or something like that.
Okay.
But even that much, I tried to shout out tonight's show with Calvin Parker. I'm like, anyway, what do you got? I was like 600 characters in. I'm like, God damn it. I'm like fucking 60 years old. I'm a boom. Anyway, but
sorry to interrupt. Just really quick. I was scrolling up to the comments that I'd missed while I was gone. Did you guys see Philip's comment from the What If Tomorrow Media podcast or the What If Tomorrow?
Yes, I did. Phil.
Oh my gosh.
We got to get Phil. What are you
I tried.
doing
I sent him.
right
He said he
now?
couldn't get on because his upload speed is so bad. But he said, my daughter told me tonight that she was from another Earth. I listen and ask questions when my little kids say things like that. 100% Phil. Because like,
100%, dude.
Yes.
but isn't that crazy?
Dude.
Like, kids will say the most. Like,
Say something about that. Sorry.
go for it. Yeah, 100%, brother. Go for it.
I got a deep. Something I was just thinking about today. So what is it? Einstein's law of conservation of energy states, well, energy can't be created or destroyed, only turned into another form of energy. So I'm sure you guys know, you take like a tree, if you set it on fire, you're not destroying it from the universe, you just turn the heat. It's, it can rise up in the air, mix with the water molecules and rain back down and grow another tree. And we're all breathing into oxygen, it's connecting us as one element to another. Well, I'm thinking, like if our conscious is like this frequency, it's invisible, but you can feel the effects of it. It produces these chemicals in your body, that literally emotions, make you feel a certain way or a different way. Whenever you die, if your physical body goes through the cycle, like a tree does, like that Lion King, circle of life type shit, if your conscious is this invisible frequency, then wouldn't it have to go to another place if energy can't be created or destroyed, only turn to another form of energy? That's just a thought that hit my head today. And when it hit me really deep, I'm not gonna lie. So it was real synchronistic that you said that to me about the reincarnation thing.
Well, the imagery that you just put in my head, Josh, is that the idea of density, where you can have two similar liquids like water and oil, but if you put both of those in one glass, they work themselves out. One goes to the top. I feel like that's been described for the frequency upgrade. I think that a lot of people believe that we're going through right now. This change, this effect from the third dimension or the fourth dimension to like the fifth, sixth, seventh, or whatever. And I mean, you can go down a really dark or not dark. Maybe it's a light rabbit hole about that transition. But I love that. I love that idea. Like, transitioning between densities of frequencies. It's cool stuff, dude. Cool
By
stuff.
the way, Kira, I noticed a while back that you said you haven't done anything yet, but you're looking at putting stuff together. For sure. I mean, whoever you're comfortable reaching out to, but I have to say, Ben and Joe are pretty awesome about hearing people's stories out and just taking it for what it is, which I think is an amazing thing that you guys are doing, and it's so awesome. The community, you think about it, like, for yourself, Josh, for sure, Sonny and Chad and all of us have talked about it, and Lewis and all of us guys, like, none of us would have ever met 509 if it hadn't been for the garage, man. You think about it, it's pretty crazy. And like, we all talk every day now.
Dude, it's for real. Like, I talk to you fools every day. I thank you for that, but man, like, this is like a self-fulfilling thing. It's like me and Joe were just two dudes talking about a thing, and then then a lot of other people were like, "Hey, I also want to talk about that thing," and we just all kind of started talking about this stuff together, and it just happened naturally, man. There's the only credit that's due is just the momentum that we're making, right? Like we're all figuring this stuff out together. That's what's fun. I mean, we just met Josh, what, like three weeks ago, and I've learned already so much from you. And like, dude, I feel like every time you chime in, I'm like, you're a catalyst for like new ideas, dude. I just love it.
I appreciate it, man.
Oh yeah, and Sonny, shit, dude. I mean, come on, man. I feel like when you shared your story back, I mean, shit. When did we start talking? A couple, like
5 years ago, right, Willie?
Did you not hear about this? So Ben, did you hear about this with Sonny and I?
What is that?
Okay, you tell we were talking tonight in the chop shop, and Sonny tells me this, and go ahead and tell him, Sonny.
I was thoroughly convinced that I started listening to you guys like 5 years ago, and I told you that story 3 years ago.
About the Bigfoot.
Willie said, I think they've only been on for like 2 years. And I was like, no, that's impossible. I've lived in this house 3 years, and I was in the other house when I started listening to you guys. It's where I seen the flying thing over the house and all the stuff. And
Like
it
a
was
super Mandela effect.
then, yeah, and big one. That's when we started talking about the Mandela effect, and I was like,
Hold
man,
up.
I don't remember that being in this house when I even did the interview, and I've lived here for at least 3 years, almost 3 years, 2 years and 8 months or something.
Whoa. So you remember our first interview in your old house?
Yep.
And that was 5 years ago.
That you lived in? That's when that interview would have been to me. It would have been like 5 years ago. 4.5, 5 years ago. Yeah, and when he said that, I was like, no, it's impossible. And then I thought about the dates, and I was like, man, he's right. How does that seem so long ago? In the other house, it couldn't have been. It would have had to have been when I was in the other house. But
so, I mean, is that another proof of Mandela effect for you?
Yes.
Holy shit, dude.
Sure.
What about this one? The other one that Sonny and I had. Sonny have had a couple, but I agree with him on this one. Dude, who remembers this time, all right? If you said, I live, like right now, it's 11:45 Eastern Central Standard Time. Does that sound normal to you guys, or does that sound weird?
The standard time is new for me. It used to just be Central Time.
Okay, apparently there's never been an Eastern Central Time. And I can't speak to Sonny's, but Sonny's having the same problem.
Pacific
with his
Standard Time.
Well, like,
how did we both? It was, but it's Pacific Central Standard Time is what I would say. Just like he's saying Eastern,
well,
I would say Pacific Central Standard Time.
But maybe it's the additive of standard that's like fucked up. Because like wherever you live, it's standard for you.
Maybe because now it's just Eastern Time Zone. That's it. There's no Eastern Central Standard Time Zone.
Ours is PDT. That wasn't even close.
ET.
I'll tell you guys the Mandela effect that really got me the other day. It's I don't know the exact details. If you can pull it up, it's the mirror on the wall. There's a Mandela effect around that. God, if you can Google it real quick, dude, it got me so bad. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, no, there's no possible way. You know?
She says magic mirror.
Yeah,
not mirror.
I don't believe it. I can't believe it.
The one that got me recently is the scary movie. Remember it was the trailer that was like Sixth Sense had just came out a couple years prior than the scary movie. It was like, scary movie. Like, y'all know, it's like the big parody of all the horror films. And and the famous line is the Wayans brothers saying, "I see white people."
Oh my God, is that not in there? Don't you take that away from me.
But in the movie, he doesn't. They took it out, dude. They took it out of the movie. It was just in the trailer because they thought it was like a little, I don't know, whoever. But I'd love to hear anybody else weigh in on that if anybody remembers it being in the actual movie, because I remember it. I see white people because I thought it was hilarious.
I got one even worse, man. For the Goonies at the end, before the ship sails out, you remember when the rocks fall down? Remember when they had to jump off the boat and they're in the water?
Yeah.
Before Sloth holds up the rock?
Right.
The octopus, the monster that was in there, was grabbing on one of the girls' legs, and they're screaming. The whole part's cut out of the movie to where that was gone. The whole part with her and the two kids that are on the rock, the whole part of the movie was gone. And I was for sure of that shit, that was in there, and they cut it out because I've been watching that. And whenever the Goonies comes on, I'll watch it on TV, on cable. And that part wasn't in there. Then I found an old VHS, and it is on there. So I was right. That was
Hold on.
It's on the VHS tape, but it's not on the movie when they show it now.
I don't remember a sea creature of any kind.
That's what everyone says. There was no octopus in there, and I was like, yeah, there
I
is.
remember that.
They was grabbing on them, and they're all screaming, trying to get out. That whole part was cut out. There was no in the movie I see now.
So I need to look more into what is the whole supposed reason for them, or the theory behind why the Mandela effect is. Is it something to do with Project Stargate or something? I don't know all the details around it.
CERN. William.
CERN, CERN, yeah.
CERN. William
Yeah,
would know.
Jessica.
You guys were just talking about this not too long ago, weren't y'all? I think I heard a little bit of it.
I can
Yeah.
talk about it. It's not going to be right.
Right.
What's the supposed theory about why the Mandela effect is?
The views and expressions expressed by the host of the show do not reflect that of the guest nor the show itself. I'm just kidding.
That should be before every one of your episodes, Will. The
Was that
views and
something-
expression. But like the idea, dude. The idea is that like somebody farted really big, and then it's reset time, and the kid Doc Martin shows up. He's like, "Hey, did you guys hear that?" And then everybody
That's
forgets. Everybody forgets.
Butterfly.
Or fly.
The butterfly.
Or the cracking reality. Yeah.
It's anybody that wants to look up the Mandela stuff. I gotta point you, and I'm gonna try and get him on here, Ben. Brian Stavely from Dose of Reality on YouTube is the guy, in my opinion, he keeps up with it. And honestly, Dave Scott had him on. You go listen to his episode with SOR. Freaking blew my mind. I was stopping the episode every like 2 seconds and Googling like, this guy's wrong, this guy's wrong, this guy's wrong. And
Damn.
it just, he was right on everything. And what's weird about his stuff, Sonny, you mentioned how you were able to go back and on your VHS is on there, but it was removed from the TV show. So that, okay, makes sense. But the stuff that this guy hit on would be like, even if you went and popped in your VHS right now, it'd be different. Like the one that hit me, for instance, now this is an older show, but did you guys ever watch I Love Lucy growing up? Anybody ever heard?
Yes, and I know the answer to this one, Will.
Right. So Sonny and Josh, have you guys watched I Love Lucy before? And by the way, you are muted, Sonny.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. Do you guys remember the famous line that Ricky Ricardo and those in the chat as well? So we're going to have about 9 minutes here before we get out of here for Lynn Wallington. But do you remember the famous line that Ricky Ricardo would say to Lucy when she would mess up? He would say it and kind of point his finger at her. Do you remember that line that he would say or no?
Something to the moon and back, or something to the moon. I don't know. Straight to
That
the
was
moon.
Jackie Gleason. It was he would just go, Lucy. That's what it was. That's what I remember.
Okay. I was giving everybody in the chat just a second to see if anything pops up. So it's
Yeah, what-
you're really close with that, Sonny.
So Jacob Willett says you've got some explaining to do.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, it just popped up.
I have the answer to this, you guys. I've got the answer. This is why we
go.
confused it. Okay, how many of you? I mean, okay, so Sonny and Josh, did y'all ever watch All That on Nickelodeon?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, Kenan and Kel. Yeah.
King of Kel, yeah,
Oh yeah.
one of my favorite shows. Will, have you seen All That?
I actually did not.
It's
No.
just all
Remember-
that. So
Sheltered.
there was this
homeschooled?
there was this spoof with Amanda Bynes that they did this I Love Lucy spoof. If you look it up, YouTube, I Love Lucy, that is where that line comes from. Lucy, you got some explaining to do. It was the spoof off of that. It's not the actual show.
See,
it
I
up
feel like
there.
that's wrong because going to my grandparents, that was the only person who had the TV, right? So when we would go to their house, they had like all their old DVDs, all their old, it wasn't even DVDs, it was VHS,
Okay.
or what was on the reruns. I remember Channel 40, WLMB was like an all Christian station and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And they would play I Love Lucy reruns. I remember hearing Ricky Ricardo come to the door and be like, Lucy, you got some explaining to do.
But dude, the guy from All That looks just like him, but younger, tiny guy though.
Don't you think it's weird that just so and this is where like Brian's way better at doing this. Brian Stavely believes that when they tell you, oh, you remembered it wrong, they'll put something out to basically be like, oh, that's where you remembered it from. And then you take the update, as it were, because that's easier to say yes to that than to be like, oh, holy crap, why are we all and that what are the chances? Millions of people, millions and millions, but millions of people. God's sake, millions of people
I know
remember
he's a
the
good
same
guy.
thing.
There's a million.
Like, okay, in the Bible, are any of you? You said you guys were kind of religious or not religious, even in the chat. Does anybody remember the line about saying in the Bible it said that the lamb laid with this specific thing? I know that's really vague, but in the
Lion.
Bible it said, what's that?
Lion.
Okay, so you remember saying it that the lion would be so long that the lamb would lay with the lion, it'd be so peaceful or whatever?
Are we about to say mouse?
No. So for me, I 100% remember the lion. Okay, I remember it talking about. I remember this because they're going into like Sunday school. There was the painting of like Jesus with the staff and like holding the sheep, and there was a lion's mane, and he's petting it. It would talk about the lion laying with the lamb. It would be so peaceful. Now, like right here, Kira's getting this one as well, right? Lion. Tammy's remembering lion. We're all separate. I'm not with them, and they're remembering, except for Black Chick, who says, I am the storm.
Swords.
But now it's the wolf. Now it's just wolf.
No.
100%.
It's for sure the
Look it
fucking,
up.
it's the lion, dude.
I remember the lion.
It gets so
is.
weird.
There was a painting. My early Tiny Benjamin school years were at a Catholic school, Tiny Benjamin school. There was a freaking painting, dude, with a lion and a lamb, dude.
That's what sticks with me, because it's the same thing. There's some renditions of that, but that's not what's in the Bible, the King James version at least. And they say, well, that's just because it's been updated, people forgot. But like when they started tracing it back to the text and stuff, they're like, no, it's never said that.
I feel like the Bible's been updated more times than Windows.
For sure. For sure. All right, gentlemen. Tell you what, we got about 5 minutes, so I know some of the people in here have got wrenching duty over at SOR for Lynn tonight. Only if Bob's in there. By the way, for those that want to check out what Bob Berkins is all about, the know Bob Berkins, go on over to Paranormal Chop Shop, because he was on there last.
Well, a personal friend of Bob Berkins was on, and he knew a
Right.
whole lot about him.
I stand corrected. It was a personal friend.
I do believe Bob Berkins rents a house from that guy, if I understood him right.
And he breeds clowns? Is that what he said?
He breeds clowns.
Oh, I was laughing so hard, man. God, I
You-
died.
You were laughing. I pictured him breeding a clown, and I almost cried on the show.
Oh, man. All right. Well, Sonny, tell everybody where they can find you then really quick, too. I'll get you out of here. And
Paranormal Chop Shop, guys, on Fridays. It's Pacific
P.
Daylight Time. PD.
It's P. Guys.
I don't want to throw that Central
warm.
Pacific time in there.
It's warm, it's salty. Everybody does it. Just go check it out.
6 o'clock, guys. I'll see you there.
oh, I love that Zero Cool. It's like I literally have that queued up right now. Oh, man. For sure. And Josh, if you have anywhere that anybody can follow you, please let them know right now.
Not yet. Not yet. Actually, I'm working on something right now. You guys are actually starting to motivate me to want to get my own little channel going or something. Maybe I can help promote y'all and y'all promote me, and we stay in touch with each other, and get this troop out there.
Heck yeah.
I'll be keeping
100%.
you updated for sure. Thanks for having me on, y'all.
For sure,
yeah,
brother.
Bro, yes.
Have a good one. We'll talk to you later, okay?
All right.
All right, Sonny, I'm going to get you out of here too as well. And we'll see you in the chop shop, and we'll see you next Friday for sure. Oh, do you have a guest? Do you have anybody lined up?
Wait. Oh, hold on. Ben, thank you, man. I got your message earlier.
Oh,
Thank
you got the little goodies coming at you, dude.
Yeah.
If it was
Thank
more
you so
more
much,
professional
man.
than
I can't
us.
wait, dude.
Take it.
Just wanted to say thanks before you kick me out of here, guys.
Oh,
Thank you,
dude,
man.
Absolutely,
Peace.
bro.
See
You
y'all
deserve
later.
it. Great job with your life is great. Great job. You're doing good.
I love you guys. Bye.
Thank you, man. I'm out. Hey, Willie.
Peace, brother. Have a good one. All right, guys. Well, obviously, we took a little bit of a change after Mr. Parker left here tonight, but that was amazing. I'm so glad that I got to do that with him. I'm so glad that you guys were able to be here and do that with us as well. And then for those that hopped in at the end, big shout out to Ben, Josh, and Sonny. Thank you very much for coming and hanging out. And for all those in the chat that have kept it interesting tonight, we thank you very much. And now let's go over and show our support, love and support for SOR. And like I said, next week, tune in for NK Canada. And if nothing else, stay curious and keep it weird.